Time travel, the ability to move through time as easily as we traverse space, has fascinated humanity for centuries. The idea of journeying into the past or future remains one of the greatest mysteries of the universe. Could time travel actually be possible within the laws of physics? Could we one day step into a machine and visit the age of the dinosaurs, witness the birth of the universe, or see the distant future of humanity? While science fiction often portrays time travel as a reality, the question remains, does physics allow it? To answer this, we must dive deep into the theories of relativity, the nature of space-time, and the most exotic structures in the cosmos: wormholes, cosmic strings, and black holes. At first glance, time seems linear, an unbreakable sequence of past, present, and future. But is time really what it appears to be? Einstein's theory of relativity shattered our classical understanding of time. According to relativity, time is not absolute but rather a flexible dimension, interwoven with space itself. This fabric of space-time can stretch, warp, and even bend under the influence of massive objects. If time can be manipulated in such ways, could it also be traversed? One of the first hints that time travel might not be purely fiction comes from time dilation, a phenomenon predicted by Einstein's special theory of relativity. When an object moves close to the speed of light, time slows down relative to an observer at rest. This effect has been experimentally verified using atomic clocks on high-speed aircraft and satellites. Astronauts on the International Space Station, for example, experience time slightly slower than people on Earth due to their high velocity. While this doesn't allow for dramatic leaps through time, it does mean that, in a sense, they are experiencing a form of time travel to the future. If we could somehow reach even greater speeds, perhaps approaching the speed of light, this time dilation would become even more pronounced, allowing for significant travel into the future. But what about traveling to the past? This is where things become even more intriguing. General relativity predicts that space-time can be curved so dramatically that loops, known as closed time-like curves, could theoretically form. These curves would allow an object to travel through space and return to an earlier point in time. However, creating such a structure is no simple task. One of the most popular theoretical methods involves wormholes, hypothetical shortcuts through space-time. Wormholes are often depicted as cosmic tunnels, connecting distant points in the universe. If such a structure exists, and if it could be stabilized, it might be possible to step into one end and emerge in another era. The problem, however, is that wormholes, if they exist, are incredibly unstable. They would collapse almost instantly unless held open by an exotic form of matter with negative energy, something that remains purely theoretical. Even if we could find such matter, manipulating it on a scale necessary to create a traversable wormhole would be an extraordinary challenge. Another fascinating concept is that of cosmic strings, hypothetical, one-dimensional defects in space-time, possibly formed in the early universe. These strings, if they exist, could be incredibly dense, warping space-time around them. Some physicists speculate that if two cosmic strings passed each other at near-light speeds, they might create conditions favorable for time travel. While no direct evidence of cosmic strings has been found, their possibility remains an exciting avenue for exploration. Then there are black holes, perhaps the most extreme objects in the universe. Black holes warp space-time so dramatically that time itself slows down near their event horizons. If an astronaut were to orbit close to a supermassive black hole and then return to Earth, they would find that much more time had passed for those who stayed behind. While this is yet another form of forward time travel, physicists have also speculated that black holes, or spinning wormholes connected to them, could theoretically allow passage into the past. The issue, however, is that entering a black hole would almost certainly be fatal due to the immense gravitational forces. One of the most famous thought experiments concerning time travel is the grandfather paradox. If a person were to travel back in time and prevent their grandfather from meeting their grandmother, would they still exist? This paradox highlights the potential logical contradictions inherent in traveling to the past. Various theories attempt to resolve this issue, such as the idea of alternate timelines, where changing the past creates a new, parallel universe rather than altering the traveler's own history. Quantum mechanics, the branch of physics governing subatomic particles, offers another perspective on time travel. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that particles can exist in multiple states at once or even influence their own past states. Could this principle be extended to macroscopic objects? The famous delayed choice quantum eraser experiment suggests that the behavior of particles can be affected retroactively, hinting at a bizarre relationship between the present and the past. While our understanding of time travel remains theoretical, new discoveries in physics continue to challenge our assumptions about time and causality. Some physicists propose that time itself might be an emergent property of the universe, rather than a fundamental aspect of reality. If this is the case, our entire understanding of past, present, and future could be an illusion, opening the door to radical new ideas about time travel. If time travel were to become a reality, the implications would be profound. It could revolutionize history, allowing us to witness and study the past firsthand. It could provide solutions to some of the greatest mysteries of the universe, or even unlock technologies beyond our imagination. However, it also raises ethical and philosophical questions. Would time travelers have the right to alter history? How would societies regulate such power? Despite these challenges, the dream of time travel persists. Whether through the warping of space-time, quantum phenomena, or yet undiscovered principles of physics, humanity continues to search for a way to break the bonds of time. For now, time travel remains an enigma, a tantalizing possibility at the intersection of science and speculation. But as our understanding of the universe deepens, who knows what the future, or the past, may hold? If time travel is theoretically possible, then one of the most crucial questions becomes, where do the laws of physics draw the line? While Einstein's equations suggest that time loops could exist under extreme conditions, other fundamental laws of physics, such as the second law of thermodynamics and quantum mechanics, may impose restrictions that prevent such occurrences. The universe operates in a way that favors increasing entropy, meaning that disorder always increases over time. If time travel to the past were possible, it could theoretically allow entropy to decrease, violating one of the most fundamental principles of physics. This brings us to the idea of the cosmic censorship hypothesis. Proposed by physicist Roger Penrose, this principle suggests that nature always hides singularities, the extreme points in spacetime where the known laws of physics break down, behind event horizons, such as those of black holes. If this is true, then any attempt to construct a traversable time machine might be inherently self-destructive. The moment a time machine begins to function, it could create a singularity that collapses upon itself, preventing any paradoxes from occurring in the first place. Even if a stable time machine were somehow possible, there is another major issue to consider: causality. The universe appears to operate under cause and effect relationships, where events unfold in a logical sequence. If time travel allows for backward movement in time, it could disrupt these relationships in ways that might be impossible to reconcile. This is where theories such as the Novikov self-consistency principle come into play. This principle suggests that even if time travel were possible, events would always adjust themselves in such a way that paradoxes could never occur. If you were to travel back in time and attempt to change history, some unforeseen circumstances would always prevent you from doing so, ensuring that history remains consistent. One of the most fascinating implications of time travel is the idea of alternate timelines. If altering the past does not create paradoxes, it might instead lead to the branching of reality into multiple, coexisting universes. This concept aligns with the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, which suggests that every possible outcome of an event creates a separate, parallel universe. If this is true, then time travelers would not be altering their own past but rather jumping into a newly formed timeline that diverges from their original one. While this theory avoids paradoxes, it also raises deeper questions about the nature of reality itself. Some physicists believe that the key to understanding time travel may lie in the fundamental nature of space-time itself. Theoretical physicist Kip Thorne has explored the possibility of traversable wormholes, while others, such as Stephen Hawking, have suggested that quantum fluctuations at the microscopic level could play a role in preventing time loops. In 1992, Hawking proposed the chronology protection conjecture, which states that the laws of physics contain inherent mechanisms that prevent time travel into the past. According to this idea, any attempt to create a time machine would result in the destruction of the machine itself before it could be used. This could occur due to exotic radiation, vacuum fluctuations, or unknown quantum effects that emerge whenever time loops threaten to form. If time travel ever becomes possible, it may not come from the grand warping of space-time but rather from quantum physics. Some experiments suggest that particles can influence events that have already happened, a phenomenon known as quantum retrocausality. While this effect has only been observed on a subatomic scale, some researchers speculate that it could be a clue to deeper, hidden mechanisms within reality. If these principles could be harnessed, time travel might not require massive cosmic structures like wormholes, but instead rely on the manipulation of quantum information. Yet, even if we were to unlock the secrets of time travel, there is another problem: energy. The energy requirements for manipulating space-time on a scale necessary for time travel are astronomical. Some estimates suggest that creating a stable wormhole, for example, would require negative energy fields equivalent to the mass of an entire star. Even if we found a way to generate or harness such energy, directing and controlling it with precision would be an engineering challenge far beyond our current capabilities. While physics continues to explore the possibilities of time travel, there is another perspective to consider: the absence of time travelers. If time travel to the past were possible at some point in the future, why haven't we encountered visitors from that future? This question, often referred to as the time traveler paradox, suggests that either time travel is impossible, highly restricted, or that time travelers are deliberately avoiding detection. Some speculate that if time travel does exist, it may operate under rules we do not yet understand, preventing interference with the present. Despite the challenges, researchers continue to push the boundaries of our understanding. Advances in quantum mechanics, black hole physics, and space-time geometry might one day reveal hidden possibilities. Perhaps the key to time travel lies not in bending space-time, but in uncovering new dimensions beyond the ones we currently perceive. Some theories in string theory, for example, suggest the existence of extra dimensions that could provide shortcuts through space-time in ways we have yet to understand. The search for time travel is not just a scientific endeavor, it is also a philosophical and existential one. If time is not as rigid as we perceive it to be, then our entire understanding of reality may need to be redefined. Whether time travel remains a dream of science fiction or a future breakthrough in physics, it represents one of the most profound questions in the universe. Is time an unchangeable force, or is it something we can one day control? As we continue to probe the nature of the cosmos, the mystery of time remains one of the greatest frontiers. Perhaps the answer lies just beyond our current knowledge, waiting to be discovered. Or perhaps time itself will always guard its secrets, ensuring that its passage remains a one-way journey. Until science provides a definitive answer, time travel will remain one of the most tantalizing possibilities in the history of human thought. If time travel is truly possible, then the implications extend far beyond physics. The very fabric of reality, causality, free will, and even the nature of existence itself, would have to be reconsidered. Would history be something fluid, open to endless alterations, or would it resist change, as some theories suggest? Would time travelers from the distant future rewrite history for their own benefit, or would paradoxes and self-consistency principles prevent them from making significant alterations? These questions touch on some of the deepest mysteries of both science and philosophy. One of the biggest concerns about time travel is the potential for paradoxes. While the grandfather paradox is the most famous, it is far from the only logical issue that arises. Another well-known paradox is the bootstrap paradox, where an object or piece of information is never created but simply exists in a time loop. Imagine a scientist receiving blueprints for a time machine from their future self, building it, and then sending the same blueprints back in time to their younger self. In this case, where did the blueprints originate? This paradox suggests that certain events might be self-contained in time, with no clear point of origin. Some physicists speculate that if time travel were possible, such self-consistent loops could exist without contradiction, though this challenges our conventional understanding of cause and effect. Some researchers suggest that paradoxes might be resolved through quantum mechanics. The idea is that, rather than a single timeline, the universe may consist of a vast, possibly infinite number of parallel realities. If altering the past simply shifts a traveler into a new timeline, then paradoxes would be avoided entirely. In this view, history is not rewritten but rather branched off into a separate, independent version. However, this raises another question. If every possible timeline already exists, then are we truly making choices? Or are we simply experiencing different branches of a predetermined reality? Beyond paradoxes, there are ethical and practical concerns regarding time travel. If it were possible, who would control it? There is also the question of psychological and existential consequences. If someone were to travel centuries into the future or past, how would they cope with the drastic cultural, technological, and environmental changes? Even if time travel were restricted to minor jumps, the effect on the human mind could be overwhelming. Displacement in time might be far more disorienting than displacement in space, leading to potential psychological conditions akin to extreme culture shock or temporal dislocation disorder. Yet, despite the challenges, the fascination with time travel persists. Some scientists argue that the universe itself might provide natural mechanisms for time travel. For example, some models of the universe suggest that it could be cyclic, with time repeating in vast loops. If this is true, then perhaps every moment in history is destined to repeat itself endlessly. Another possibility is that time itself might not be fundamental but emergent. Some physicists believe that what we perceive as time is simply a byproduct of deeper quantum processes. If time is not an absolute aspect of reality but rather an emergent property, then manipulating it might be possible in ways we have yet to comprehend. One intriguing idea comes from the concept of retrocausality, where effects can precede their causes. Some experiments in quantum physics suggest that decisions made in the present might influence events in the past. If this phenomenon could be harnessed on a macroscopic scale, it might provide a mechanism for limited time travel, perhaps not in the sense of sending people back in time, but rather in transmitting information across different points in history. If such a mechanism exists, it could revolutionize communication. Imagine being able to send messages to the past or receive information from the future. This could have profound implications for science, technology, and even daily life. Warnings about future disasters, guidance from future generations, or even solutions to current problems could be transmitted across time, altering the course of history in ways we can only begin to imagine. Despite all these theoretical possibilities, one major question remains: if time travel is feasible, why don't we have evidence of it? Some scientists suggest that time travel, if possible, might be restricted by natural barriers. Perhaps time machines can only travel back to the moment they were first created, meaning no traveler could go further back than the invention of the first working time machine. Others propose that time travelers might exist but are deliberately avoiding detection, either due to strict rules of non-interference, or because they operate in ways that make them undetectable to us. The possibility also exists that time travelers do not interact with our timeline in the way we expect. If they exist in parallel realities, their presence may never directly affect our own history. Alternatively, they might communicate in ways we do not yet recognize, leaving behind subtle influences rather than direct interventions. As our understanding of the universe deepens, the question of time travel remains one of the most profound scientific and philosophical challenges. Whether time is an unbreakable constant or a flexible dimension waiting to be harnessed, the dream of transcending time persists. Humanity has always been fascinated by the idea of escaping the constraints of time. While we may not yet have the answers, the pursuit of knowledge continues, pushing the boundaries of what is possible. Perhaps one day, we will unlock the secrets of time itself. Perhaps the answers have already been discovered by travelers from the future who have chosen to remain hidden. Or maybe, just maybe, time travel will forever remain an enigma, a tantalizing possibility that exists just beyond the reach of our understanding. If time travel is ever proven possible, one of the greatest challenges will be understanding how it interacts with the very structure of reality. Is time truly an independent dimension, like space, or is it something fundamentally different? Many physicists argue that time is deeply tied to the fabric of the universe, interwoven with space itself into what we call space-time. But even if we could manipulate space-time in ways that allow for time travel, does that mean we could navigate through time as easily as we do through space? The answer likely depends on whether time is continuous or quantized. If time is continuous, then traveling through it might be akin to rewinding or fast-forwarding a movie. However, if time is quantized, divided into discrete, indivisible units, like the pixels of an image, then time travel might be restricted to jumping between fixed moments rather than smoothly traversing it. Some theories suggest that time, much like energy, may come in tiny, indivisible packets. If this is true, then the mechanics of time travel could be far more complicated than we currently imagine. Another important consideration is whether time has a preferred direction. In our everyday experience, time always moves forward. This is closely linked to the second law of thermodynamics, which states that entropy, disorder, must always increase in a closed system. If time travel to the past were possible, it would require reversing this natural process, which seems to go against the fundamental laws of physics. However, some theories suggest that time's arrow may not be as rigid as we think. In certain extreme conditions, such as inside a black hole or in the early universe, the distinction between past and future may break down entirely. Black holes are particularly fascinating when it comes to time travel. According to Einstein's equations, the immense gravitational pull of a black hole distorts spacetime so severely that time itself slows down near its event horizon. A person falling into a black hole would experience time normally from their perspective, but an outside observer would see them appear to slow down, never quite crossing the event horizon. This strange time dilation effect suggests that, under the right conditions, extreme gravitational fields could potentially allow for time travel into the future. But what about traveling into the past? Some physicists believe that if two black holes were connected by a stable wormhole, a hypothetical tunnel through spacetime, then it might be possible to use them as a time machine. If one mouth of the wormhole were accelerated to near light speeds and then brought back, the difference in time dilation could mean that entering one end of the wormhole would allow a traveler to emerge in the past. However, this idea faces numerous challenges, not least of which is the requirement of exotic matter with negative energy to keep the wormhole open. Beyond black holes, some theories suggest that the universe itself might contain naturally occurring pathways through time. Cosmic strings, hypothetical, ultra-thin, high-energy filaments that may have formed in the early universe, could theoretically warp spacetime in ways that create closed time-like curves, allowing for time travel. If such structures exist, they might act as cosmic highways through time. However, their existence remains purely speculative, with no direct evidence so far. Even if we were to discover a method for time travel, one of the biggest unknowns is how it would affect human biology. Would a traveler's body be able to withstand the stresses of moving through time? Some theories suggest that the forces involved in time travel, especially near black holes or wormholes, could be extreme enough to tear apart any physical object. Others propose that quantum effects might play a role in stabilizing a time traveler, preventing them from being destroyed in the process. Another mystery is whether time travel would be restricted to certain locations or moments in history. Some models suggest that time travel might only be possible between points that are connected by specific space-time conditions, meaning that not every moment in history would be accessible. This could explain why we do not see time travelers in our present. They may be unable to reach us due to the specific constraints of time travel physics. But what if time travelers are already here, just hidden? Some speculate that if advanced civilizations or future humans have mastered time travel, they may have strict rules about interfering with the past. Perhaps they observe history without altering it, much like how we study ancient civilizations through archaeology. If they exist, they may have ways of remaining undetected, or their presence may be so subtle that we simply do not recognize it. On the other hand, if time travelers could influence history, how would we know? Some unusual historical anomalies, such as unexplained technological advancements appearing too early, have led some to speculate about the possibility of subtle interference from time travelers. While there is no scientific evidence to support these claims, they fuel the imagination and keep the question of time travel alive in popular culture. Despite the many unknowns, research into time travel continues. Advances in quantum mechanics, general relativity, and even emerging fields like quantum gravity may one day shed light on whether time travel is truly possible. Some physicists believe that the key may lie in unifying these theories into a single framework that fully explains space, time, and gravity. If such a breakthrough occurs, it could revolutionize our understanding of the universe and open the door to possibilities we can only dream of today. For now, time remains one of the greatest mysteries of science. Whether it is an unbreakable barrier or a navigable dimension waiting to be unlocked, the quest to understand time will continue to push the boundaries of human knowledge. Perhaps, in the distant future, historians will look back on this era not as the time when we speculated about time travel, but as the moment when we first began to truly understand it. Until then, time marches forward, carrying us ever onward into the unknown. If time travel is ever realized, it could redefine humanity's understanding of existence. Our perception of time as a relentless forward motion could be shattered, revealing a reality where past, present, and future exist simultaneously, waiting to be explored. But even if the laws of physics allow it, there remain immense challenges, both technological and philosophical, that must be addressed before time travel becomes more than just a theoretical possibility. One of the biggest hurdles is energy. Most theoretical models of time travel, including wormholes and closed time-like curves, require enormous amounts of energy, far beyond anything we can currently produce. Exotic matter with negative energy is often a crucial component in these theories, but its existence remains unconfirmed. Even if such matter exists, harnessing it in sufficient quantities to stabilize a time machine could be an insurmountable challenge. Some physicists speculate that the energy requirements might be so vast that only civilizations far more advanced than our own could ever hope to achieve time travel. But let's assume for a moment that time travel is possible, and that we somehow overcome the technological challenges. The next issue is causality. The universe operates under a web of cause and effect, and time travel introduces the possibility of breaking that fundamental principle. Some theories suggest that the universe might correct itself to avoid paradoxes. This idea, known as the Novikov self-consistency principle, states that any actions taken by a time traveler would already be part of history, meaning that they could never actually change the past. Instead, events would unfold in such a way that any attempt to alter history would be subtly corrected by the universe itself, ensuring consistency. However, if parallel universes exist, then the problem of paradoxes might be irrelevant. The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics suggests that every possible outcome of an event leads to the creation of a new, separate timeline. In this scenario, traveling back in time wouldn't change our timeline but would instead create a divergent reality where events unfold differently. This could mean that while a traveler may experience an altered version of history, their original timeline remains unchanged. If this is the case, then time travel might function more like dimensional travel, allowing explorers to visit alternate versions of history rather than rewriting their own past. This concept raises an even deeper question. If parallel timelines exist, do they interact with one another? Could messages be sent between different timelines? If a time traveler were to enter an alternate past, could they ever return to their original timeline, or would they be forever trapped in a different version of reality? These are questions that stretch the limits of human understanding, yet they are essential to consider if time travel is truly possible. There's also the question of temporal perception. If a person were to travel back in time, would they experience the past as a fixed reality, or would their mere presence cause subtle changes that accumulate over time? If small alterations ripple outward in unpredictable ways, then even minor interactions could lead to vastly different futures. This is often referred to as the butterfly effect, where tiny changes in initial conditions lead to major differences over time. If time travel to the past were possible, ensuring that history remains unchanged would be an enormous challenge, assuming we would even want to preserve it. Another aspect to consider is the impact of time travel on personal identity. If someone were to meet their past or future self, how would that affect their sense of self? Would they be the same person, or would their experiences diverge so much that they become two entirely different individuals? Would memories from an altered timeline override existing ones? Or would multiple versions of reality coexist in a single consciousness? The psychological consequences of interacting with different versions of oneself are unknown, but they could be profound. There is also the question of whether time travel is something that happens naturally in the universe. Some scientists suggest that advanced civilizations, if they exist, might have already unlocked the secrets of time travel. If this is the case, could they have visited us in the past or even be among us now? Some fringe theories speculate that UFOs and other unexplained phenomena could be evidence of time travelers rather than extraterrestrials. While there is no scientific proof for such claims, the idea is intriguing. If time travel exists, would we even recognize it if we saw it? Furthermore, could time travel be the key to solving some of the universe's greatest mysteries? If we could travel to the distant past, we might finally witness the birth of the universe and confirm what truly happened during the Big Bang. We could explore lost civilizations, uncover the origins of life, and answer questions that have eluded humanity for millennia. Conversely, if we could travel to the distant future, we might gain insights into the ultimate fate of the universe, witnessing the end of time itself. Despite all these possibilities, the reality is that time travel remains an unsolved mystery. Our best scientific theories suggest that it may be possible under certain conditions, but the practical challenges are immense. Perhaps one day, a breakthrough in physics will reveal the path forward. Or perhaps, time travel is a concept that will forever remain confined to the realm of imagination. For now, we are bound by time, moving ever forward in a journey we cannot yet control. But if history has taught us anything, it's that the limits of human understanding are always being pushed. The questions surrounding time travel, its feasibility, its consequences, and its deeper meaning, are far from answered. And as long as the mystery remains, the pursuit of answers will continue. Maybe, just maybe, the key to time travel is already out there, waiting for us to find it. Or perhaps, we've already discovered it in the future, and it's only a matter of time before we bring it back. If time travel is already part of our future, one of the most perplexing possibilities is that time travelers might be influencing our world without us realizing it. Could history as we know it be the result of subtle interventions by individuals from the future? If so, would they be bound by rules preventing them from altering the course of events too drastically, or do they operate in a way that makes any change undetectable? This leads to a fascinating concept often discussed in theoretical physics: the idea that reality might be self-correcting, preventing any actions that would create paradoxes. One way the universe might regulate time travel is through what some physicists call quantum censorship. According to this idea, nature itself might prohibit any alterations to events that would result in logical contradictions. In this view, even if time travel to the past were possible, it would always result in events unfolding in a way that preserves consistency. This is similar to the Novikov self-consistency principle, which suggests that any attempt to change the past would either fail or end up reinforcing the very history the traveler sought to alter. However, not all theories agree with this deterministic view. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics, such as the many worlds hypothesis, suggest that time travelers could enter entirely new timelines upon making any changes to the past. This would mean that rather than erasing the original timeline, a traveler's actions would simply create a branching reality where history diverges from the moment of interference. If this is true, then infinite versions of history could exist, each shaped by different choices made by time travelers and other events throughout the cosmos. This raises profound ethical questions. If someone were to travel back in time and prevent a major catastrophe, would they be saving lives, or merely creating a parallel world where the disaster never happened, while their original timeline remains unchanged? If infinite realities exist, then every possible outcome of every event is playing out somewhere in the multiverse. But does that mean time travel itself loses meaning? If no action truly changes anything because all possibilities already exist, then what is the purpose of altering history? Yet another fascinating aspect of time travel is its potential to reveal the deepest secrets of the universe. If we could travel to the very beginning of time, we might finally understand how the cosmos was born. The nature of the Big Bang remains one of the greatest mysteries in science. Did time itself begin with the Big Bang, or was there something before it? If time travel were possible, we could observe the birth of galaxies, witness the formation of black holes, and perhaps even discover the true nature of dark matter and dark energy, two of the most elusive components of the universe. On the other end of the timeline, traveling into the distant future could allow us to witness the fate of the cosmos. Will the universe continue expanding forever, eventually growing so cold and empty that all life ceases? Or will it one day contract in a big crunch, reversing the expansion and collapsing into a singularity? Some theories suggest the universe might undergo a big bounce, where the end of one cosmos gives rise to another, creating an endless cycle of cosmic rebirth. If time travelers could visit the far future, they might uncover answers to these existential questions, helping us understand not just our past and present, but our ultimate destiny. Some speculate that if time travel is possible, strict laws must already exist in the future to prevent reckless interference. If future civilizations have mastered time travel, they may enforce regulations ensuring that the past remains undisturbed. This could explain why we don't see obvious evidence of time travelers. They may be bound by rules preventing them from making their presence known. Alternatively, they may have developed technologies that allow them to observe history without physically altering it, much like how we use telescopes to study distant galaxies. Of course, there is another possibility. Perhaps time travel is inherently impossible, and our understanding of physics simply doesn't allow for it. Despite all the theories suggesting it might be feasible, no experiment has ever demonstrated a working method for traveling through time. It's possible that time, unlike space, is an unbreakable constant, preventing us from ever moving backward or forward beyond the present moment. If this is the case, then time travel will remain forever in the realm of fiction, an idea that captivates the imagination but ultimately defies reality. Still, science has a long history of proving the impossible to be possible. Flight, space travel, and quantum mechanics all seemed inconceivable before human ingenuity made them a reality. Perhaps time travel is simply waiting for the right breakthrough, an insight that will allow us to unlock the mysteries of time itself. Until then, we remain bound by the relentless flow of time, moving forward into an unknown future, 1 second at a time. If time travel is ever to become a reality, then understanding the fundamental nature of time itself is crucial. The way we perceive time is deeply ingrained in our biology and consciousness. We experience it as a linear progression from past to future, an unchangeable sequence of events. But is this merely an illusion? Some physicists argue that time may not be as rigid as we think. One of the most fascinating ideas in modern physics is that time might not flow at all. Instead, the past, present, and future may all exist simultaneously in what is known as the block universe model. In this view, time is more like a vast, four-dimensional landscape where every event, past, present, and future, is already set in place. If this is true, then time travel might simply be a matter of finding the right path through this landscape rather than actually altering anything. The concept of a block universe is supported by Einstein's theory of relativity, which suggests that time is relative and dependent on the observer's frame of reference. If time is just another dimension like space, then perhaps moving through it is possible in ways we haven't yet discovered. In fact, we already know that time can be manipulated under certain conditions. The phenomenon of time dilation, as described in special relativity, demonstrates that time moves slower for objects traveling close to the speed of light. This means that astronauts on a fast-moving spaceship would age more slowly than people on Earth, a real, experimentally confirmed form of time travel to the future. However, moving backward in time is far more challenging. Most proposed mechanisms for time travel to the past involve exotic physics, such as closed time-like curves, CTCs. These are loops in space-time that, theoretically, could allow someone to travel into their own past. Solutions to Einstein's equations, such as the Gödel metric and Tipler cylinders, suggest that these loops might be possible under specific conditions. But in most cases, they require either infinite rotating masses or hypothetical materials with negative energy, both of which are far beyond our current technological capabilities. Another major challenge to backward time travel is the potential violation of causality. If a person travels to the past and alters an event, they could create inconsistencies that contradict their own history. This is where paradoxes arise. The grandfather paradox, for instance, suggests that if you were to travel back in time and prevent your own grandparents from meeting, you would never be born, thus preventing yourself from ever traveling back in time in the first place. One way to resolve such paradoxes is the idea of self-consistency, where events always unfold in a way that avoids contradictions. For example, if you traveled to the past to warn people of a disaster, your actions might turn out to be the very reason the disaster happened in the first place. This suggests that time travelers can only fulfill their role in history rather than alter it in a meaningful way. Another possibility is the existence of multiple timelines. If each change to the past creates a branching reality, then any action taken by a time traveler simply leads to the formation of a new parallel universe, rather than affecting their original timeline. This aligns with the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, which proposes that every possible outcome of an event creates a new, separate reality. If this is the case, then time travelers wouldn't actually be changing history, they'd just be stepping into a different version of it. But even if time travel is possible in theory, how could it be practically achieved? Some scientists have suggested that traversable wormholes could act as natural time machines. If a stable wormhole were created, with one end experiencing slower time due to relativistic effects, then traveling through it could allow a person to emerge in the past. However, maintaining a stable wormhole requires exotic matter with negative energy, something that remains purely theoretical at this point. There is also the possibility that advanced civilizations, if they exist, have already unlocked the secrets of time travel. If time travel were possible, would extraterrestrial beings, or even future versions of humanity, be visiting us? Some theories suggest that UFO sightings and unexplained anomalies could be evidence of time travelers rather than extraterrestrials. However, there is no concrete proof of this, and the idea remains speculative. Even if time travel is never possible for biological beings, could it be achieved through technology? Some physicists speculate that artificial intelligence might one day be capable of simulating past events with perfect accuracy. If a sufficiently advanced AI could reconstruct every detail of history down to the atomic level, would it be considered a form of time travel? Some philosophers argue that a perfect simulation of the past is indistinguishable from actually visiting it. If true, then time travel might not require bending the laws of physics, just an advanced enough understanding of information and computation. As we continue to explore the mysteries of time, we may discover that the key to time travel isn't about building machines or manipulating space-time, but about redefining our understanding of reality itself. Could we one day learn that time is not something we move through, but something we can shape? If so, then the future of time travel may lie not in breaking the laws of physics, but in discovering new ones. For now, the questions surrounding time travel remain unanswered. Whether it is a scientific possibility or a mere fantasy, it continues to captivate the human imagination. Perhaps the answers are waiting for us in the future, or perhaps they've already been discovered, and we just haven't reached them yet. If time travel is possible, then another fundamental question arises: what does it mean for free will? If the past, present, and future all exist simultaneously in a block universe, does that mean our actions are predetermined? If a time traveler goes to the past and witnesses an event, does that mean the event was always going to happen, no matter what? Or does time travel introduce a new kind of freedom, where the past and future can be rewritten at will? Some interpretations of physics suggest that determinism is unavoidable. If time is just another dimension, like space, then all moments in history, past and future, exist at once. This would mean that time travelers can only observe events, not change them. This aligns with Einstein's view of time as a fixed structure, where the flow of time is merely an illusion. However, quantum mechanics suggests a very different picture. In the quantum world, particles exist in multiple states at once until they are measured, and their behaviors appear to be probabilistic rather than predetermined. Could time itself operate in a similar way, with multiple possible pasts and futures? One of the biggest questions surrounding time travel is whether it would be a natural process or something that requires deliberate effort. Could the universe itself allow for spontaneous time loops? Some theories suggest that naturally occurring closed time-like curves, CTCs, might form under extreme conditions, such as inside black holes or near cosmic strings. If such structures exist in the universe, then time travel may not require a machine. Rather, it could be something that happens under the right cosmic conditions. One fascinating idea in physics is the notion that black holes could act as gateways through time. Inside a rotating black hole, there may exist a region where time behaves in strange and unexpected ways. Some models suggest that a traveler entering such a region could emerge at a different point in time. However, the problem with black holes is that their immense gravity makes them nearly impossible to escape. Even if time travel were possible within a black hole, returning to the outside universe would be an entirely different challenge. Another proposal for natural time travel involves cosmic strings, hypothetical defects in spacetime that may have formed in the early universe. These strings, if they exist, could create powerful gravitational effects, bending space and time in ways that allow for closed time-like curves. If two cosmic strings were to pass close to one another while moving at nearly the speed of light, a spaceship traveling around them could, in theory, experience time travel. However, no direct evidence for cosmic strings has ever been found, making this idea purely speculative. While these theories are intriguing, the practical challenges of time travel are enormous. The energy requirements alone may be insurmountable. Many proposed time travel mechanisms require negative energy or exotic matter, which are not known to exist in large quantities. Even if such materials were discovered, controlling them in a way that allows for stable time travel would be extraordinarily difficult. Furthermore, time travel might introduce profound dangers. If someone were to travel to the past and accidentally alter a crucial event, the consequences could be catastrophic. This is why some scientists suggest that time travel, if possible, would be self-regulating. The Novikov self-consistency principle argues that any event that could cause a paradox is simply impossible. It would be prevented by the laws of physics. For instance, if you tried to travel back in time to prevent an accident, something would always happen to stop you, whether by coincidence or some fundamental law of nature. Another perspective suggests that time travel could lead to parallel universes rather than paradoxes. If each change to the past creates a new timeline, then the original timeline remains intact while the traveler steps into a new one. This idea aligns with the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, which suggests that every possible outcome of an event occurs in some branch of reality. If true, then time travelers would not be rewriting history. They would simply be shifting into different versions of it. But if time travel leads to alternate realities, then where do these realities come from? Are they pre-existing, or are they generated at the moment of change? Some physicists argue that the multiverse already contains every possible timeline, and time travel is merely a way of navigating them. Others suggest that new realities are constantly being created, branching out from every decision and event. If this is the case, then time travelers might not be moving through time at all. They might be moving through different versions of the universe. One potential test for time travel involves searching for evidence of paradoxes or inconsistencies in historical records. If time travelers from the future have visited the past, there might be subtle anomalies in our timeline, small changes in history that cannot be explained by conventional means. Some researchers have proposed searching for modern artifacts in ancient ruins, unexplained technological advancements in historical records. Another test for time travel involves looking for experimental evidence in the quantum realm. Some physicists have proposed experiments to see if information can be sent backward in time using quantum entanglement. While no conclusive evidence has been found, the possibility remains open. If future scientists ever develop a method for sending information through time, it could revolutionize our understanding of physics and open the door to new technologies we can barely imagine today. If time travel is possible, then the implications go beyond science. They touch on philosophy, ethics, and the very nature of existence. What would it mean for history if events could be changed at will? Would time travelers become the ultimate historians, ensuring that the true version of history is preserved? For now, the mystery of time travel remains unsolved. It is a concept that fascinates scientists, philosophers, and storytellers alike, offering endless possibilities and challenges. Whether it will one day become a reality or remain a thought experiment, time travel continues to push the boundaries of our imagination and our understanding of the universe. Perhaps, in the distant future, someone will look back on this moment, not as a time when time travel was merely a theory, but as the point in history when humanity first began to unlock its secrets. Maybe, just maybe, the answers are already out there, waiting for us to discover them. Or perhaps they have already been discovered, by a future civilization that has chosen to remain hidden, watching us from the shadows of time. If a future civilization has already mastered time travel, why haven't we seen clear evidence of their presence? This question leads us into the heart of the time traveler's paradox. If time travel to the past is possible, then where are the visitors from the future? Shouldn't we have already encountered travelers from distant eras, subtly or overtly influencing our history? One possibility is that time travelers deliberately avoid detection. If a civilization had the ability to traverse time, they might impose strict rules to prevent interference with historical events, much like how some sci-fi stories describe a temporal prime directive. These travelers could be observing us invisibly, ensuring their actions do not disrupt the natural flow of history. Another possibility is that time travel is restricted to specific points in time. Perhaps one can only travel within a limited temporal range or interact only with parallel timelines, preventing direct alterations to our known past. There's also the possibility that time travel, if it exists, is not as simple as stepping into a machine and dialing a date. Some theories suggest that traveling through time might be more like navigating a vast, shifting ocean. There could be unknown constraints, only certain conditions, cosmic alignments, or fluctuations in quantum states may allow for movement across time. This would mean that time travelers might only appear at specific moments in history when these conditions are met, making their presence far less noticeable. Some have proposed that anomalies in historical records could be signs of time travelers. Reports of individuals appearing out of nowhere, possessing inexplicable knowledge, or disappearing without a trace have fueled speculation that time travelers might already walk among us. Could there be natural barriers preventing time travel from being practical? One possibility is that time travel is a one-way journey. Some models suggest that a time machine, once built, would only allow travel back to the point of its creation, meaning that no travelers from the future could reach a time before the first functional time machine existed. This could explain why we don't see visitors from centuries ahead. They may simply not be able to reach us yet. Another limitation might be related to energy requirements. Theoretical time travel methods, such as wormholes or closed time-like curves, often demand vast amounts of energy, possibly equivalent to an entire star or more. Such requirements might be beyond even the most advanced civilizations, making time travel an impractical endeavor despite its theoretical feasibility. If time travel does become possible, who would have access to it? Would it be reserved for scientists and researchers, carefully studied under controlled conditions? Or could it become a tool for the wealthy and powerful, shaping history to their advantage? The ethical dilemmas surrounding time travel are staggering. If someone could alter the past, should they? And who decides which version of history is the correct one? If the future is already determined, then perhaps time travelers can only witness events, never change them. But if the past can be rewritten, then we must consider the possibility that our own history has already been shaped by time travelers without our knowledge. What if key historical moments were influenced, or even caused by interventions from the future? At the heart of these discussions is the question of whether time is truly linear or if it exists as a vast, interconnected web of possibilities. If time is a dynamic structure capable of being altered, then our understanding of cause and effect must be reconsidered. Actions in the present could ripple backward as well as forward, leading to a universe that is far more complex than we currently imagine. Ultimately, the search for time travel is a search for a deeper understanding of reality itself. Whether or not humans ever build a working time machine, the very pursuit forces us to confront profound questions about the nature of time, space, and existence. Perhaps, one day, we will discover that the answers have been hidden in plain sight all along, waiting for the right moment to be understood. Or maybe, just maybe, those answers have already been discovered, locked away in some future era, where time travelers watch over us, deciding whether we are ready to know the truth. If time travelers are already among us, would we even recognize them? The concept of a time traveler does not necessarily mean a person dressed in futuristic clothing or carrying an advanced gadget. Instead, they might appear as ordinary individuals, subtly influencing events without drawing attention. Some have speculated that moments of sudden technological or scientific advancement could be due to knowledge introduced from the future, carefully placed so as not to disrupt the natural order. Another possibility is that time travelers do not exist in the way we imagine. What if they are not physical beings at all? Some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest that consciousness itself might be tied to the fundamental fabric of the universe. If time travel is possible, could it occur not through physical displacement but through the movement of awareness across different points in time? If so, then time travelers might not need machines at all. They might simply be minds capable of shifting through the timeline, experiencing the past and future as fluid realities. Even if time travel were possible, what would happen to human perception and memory? If history is altered, would we even realize it? The Mandela effect is a phenomenon where large groups of people recall historical events or details differently from the established record. Some have speculated that this could be evidence of slight shifts in the timeline, subtle changes caused by time travelers that most people never notice. While mainstream science attributes this effect to psychological and cognitive factors, the idea remains intriguing. If time travel is real, would we even be able to detect it? The paradoxes associated with time travel continue to challenge physicists. One of the most famous is the grandfather paradox. If you travel back in time and prevent your grandfather from meeting your grandmother, you would never be born. But if you were never born, you could not have traveled back to change history in the first place. Solutions to this paradox range from the self-consistency principle, which prevents paradoxical changes, to the many worlds interpretation, which suggests that altering the past simply creates a new timeline. One question often overlooked is the psychological impact of time travel. If someone could move freely between past and future, how would their mind process these experiences? Humans are deeply tied to the concept of time as a forward-moving process. Our emotions, memories, and decisions are all based on the idea that the past is fixed and the future is uncertain. But if time becomes a navigable dimension, does that change the way we think and feel? Could a person who has seen the distant future still experience hope, fear, or excitement in the same way? Or would their knowledge make them detached from the present moment? If civilizations in the future have mastered time travel, why would they choose to remain hidden? One theory suggests that they may be observing us, waiting for humanity to reach a certain level of understanding before revealing themselves. Another possibility is that they do not wish to interfere with history, either out of ethical concerns or because they have already seen the consequences of interference. Some even speculate that time travelers are responsible for maintaining the stability of history, correcting small anomalies that arise to prevent larger disruptions. One of the most mind-bending ideas is that time travel has already happened, but we are inside the version of history where it has been carefully controlled. If this were the case, there would be no obvious evidence of time travel because any disruptions would have been corrected before they became noticeable. Perhaps the true effects of time travel exist beyond our perception, woven into the fabric of reality itself. There is also the question of time loops, events that occur in a cycle, repeating endlessly. Some theorists suggest that the universe itself may be caught in a vast time loop, with the same history playing out over and over again. If time travelers exist, could they have already lived this reality countless times, making small adjustments each time to refine the outcome? Ultimately, the search for time travel leads us to deeper philosophical questions. If the past and future exist simultaneously, what does that mean for the concept of destiny? Are we merely following a predetermined script, or do we have the ability to shape our own timeline? And if time travelers have seen the future, Do they know something we don't, something so profound that revealing it would change the course of history itself? Perhaps the answer to time travel lies not in machines or equations, but in our own understanding of the universe. The laws of physics may not forbid it, but the key to unlocking time's secrets may require a perspective we have yet to achieve. Whether through science, consciousness, or some yet undiscovered force, the possibility of time travel remains one of the greatest mysteries of existence. And maybe, just maybe, the proof has been with us all along, waiting for the right moment in history when humanity is ready to comprehend it. There are also curious anomalies in historical records. Stories of individuals who appeared to know things they shouldn't have, or objects and structures whose technological complexity seemed beyond the capabilities of the era. While skeptics attribute these anomalies to lost knowledge or misinterpretations, the idea of time travel offers a different perspective. What if these were remnants of interactions with travelers from another time? But if time travelers have influenced history, how could they do so without disrupting the timeline beyond recognition? Some theories propose that history has a form of self-healing mechanism. Any changes introduced by time travelers would be counterbalanced by subsequent events, ensuring that history remains relatively unchanged. This aligns with the Novikov self-consistency principle, which suggests that any action taken by a time traveler must be consistent with the past that has already occurred. In other words, even if you travel to the past, you can only do things that were already meant to happen. An alternative perspective comes from quantum mechanics and the many worlds interpretation, which suggests that altering the past doesn't overwrite the original timeline but instead creates a branching reality, a parallel universe in which the new sequence of events unfolds. If this is true, time travelers might not be altering our reality at all, but instead generating new versions of history in alternate dimensions. This would mean that every act of time travel results in a divergence, creating an infinite web of parallel universes, each shaped by different choices and alterations. This raises the question, if infinite parallel timelines exist, could we ever access them? Could travelers not only move through time but also shift between alternate versions of reality? If so, then time travel might not only be about revisiting history but exploring entirely new timelines, realities where different choices led to different outcomes. But what if time itself is an illusion? Some physicists have proposed that what we perceive as time is merely a construct of human consciousness, an emergent property of a deeper reality where past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. In this view, time travel might not involve physically moving through time, but rather shifting our perception to access different points in this eternal structure. If our consciousness could detach from the linear experience of time, could we learn to perceive past and future events as easily as we recall memories? Could time travel be a natural ability, latent within human consciousness, waiting to be unlocked? Some theories suggest that déjà vu, precognition, and out-of-body experiences might be glimpses into a deeper temporal awareness, moments where our perception momentarily breaks free from the constraints of linear time. If we could learn to control these experiences, could we navigate time without the need for machines or energy-intensive methods? There is also the possibility that time travel is restricted by higher dimensional forces, natural laws that prevent paradoxes or timeline alterations beyond a certain threshold. If time travel is real but tightly controlled, could it be that only certain beings, entities, or civilizations are permitted to use it? Could an advanced civilization, perhaps one millions of years ahead of us, have already developed a method to govern time, ensuring that only controlled interventions take place? If time travel is possible, then what happens at the end of time? Would travelers from the distant future ever reach the point where the universe ceases to exist? Some cosmological theories suggest that the universe may undergo a final collapse, a big crunch, or expand infinitely into a cold, lifeless void. Would time travelers be able to witness the end, or would they find a way to escape, perhaps looping back to the beginning of time itself? The ultimate question remains, will humans ever unlock the secrets of time travel? If so, how will it change our understanding of existence? Will we become a civilization capable of moving freely across time, or will we learn that the very nature of reality forbids such power? Perhaps the answer is already out there, hidden in the fabric of the universe, waiting for us to discover it. Or perhaps, in some distant future, we have already found it, and the echoes of that discovery are already shaping our past and present in ways we have yet to realize. If time travel has already been discovered in the future, then its effects may already be woven into our reality. Perhaps we are living in a timeline that has been carefully guided, with events subtly influenced to prevent catastrophe or ensure a specific outcome. If so, how would we ever know? Would time travelers work in secrecy, ensuring that no traces of their interference are left behind? One of the strangest possibilities is that time travelers might not be individuals at all but rather an advanced artificial intelligence operating across time. If a superintelligent AI were developed in the future and had access to time travel, it could manipulate history with precision, ensuring that key events unfolded in a way that aligned with its calculations. It would not need to physically send agents into the past. Instead, it could manipulate subtle probabilities, influencing decisions and guiding the course of history toward an optimized outcome. Could the rise of AI itself be a result of such a process? Could the development of intelligence throughout history have been guided by an unseen force, ensuring that we follow a specific technological and scientific path? There is also the question of whether time travelers could communicate with the past in ways we do not yet understand. Could advanced civilizations be sending information backward through quantum entanglement, encoded signals, or other unknown mechanisms? If so, could some of the greatest scientific breakthroughs, moments of sudden inspiration, or unexplainable leaps in knowledge be the result of messages from the future? But if time travel were truly unrestricted, would we not have already encountered clear evidence of its existence? Some argue that the lack of visible time travelers suggests that either time travel is impossible, tightly regulated, or subject to physical constraints that prevent direct intervention in history. One such constraint could be the so-called chronology protection conjecture, proposed by physicist Stephen Hawking, which suggests that the laws of physics might naturally prevent time travel on a macroscopic scale, effectively sealing off the past from interference. Alternatively, the reason we do not see time travelers could be that time travel requires immense amounts of energy, far beyond anything we currently comprehend. If traversing time requires harnessing the power of entire stars or manipulating exotic forms of matter, then only the most advanced civilizations, perhaps Type 3 civilizations on the Kardashev scale, would be capable of such feats. If these civilizations exist, would they ever choose to reveal themselves to a species as young as ours? If time travelers could exist without detection, they might already be influencing our reality in ways beyond our perception. Could historical events that seem like accidents or coincidences actually be the result of carefully placed interventions? Could individuals who change the course of history, scientists, leaders, visionaries, have been subtly guided, whether knowingly or unknowingly, by forces from the future? And what if time travel is cyclical? Could it be that every civilization eventually discovers time travel, only to find itself caught in an endless loop, repeating the same history over and over again? If so, is there a way to break free, to step outside the cycle and create a truly new future? As we continue to push the boundaries of physics, our understanding of time will evolve. Perhaps one day, we will look back on our current era as the moment when humanity first glimpsed the true nature of time, a force not to be traveled through with machines, but to be understood, manipulated, and ultimately transcended. Maybe the reason we have not yet seen time travelers is that we ourselves are destined to become them. Perhaps in some distant future, humanity will unlock the secrets of time and take its place among the travelers of the cosmos, shaping history not as passive observers, but as active architects of the universe. And if that is the case, then the greatest mystery is not whether time travel is possible, but whether it has already happened. If humanity is destined to become time travelers, then our future may already be influencing us in ways we cannot yet comprehend. What if certain scientific discoveries, technological advancements, or even philosophical ideas are not original to their time but are instead echoes of knowledge transmitted backward? Could great thinkers throughout history, those who seemed ahead of their time, have been unknowingly guided by subtle whispers from the future? This idea raises profound questions about free will. If time travel allows for the manipulation of past events, does that mean our choices are predetermined? Or is the universe structured in such a way that, no matter how much one tries to alter the past, the same general outcomes will always unfold? If the Novikov self-consistency principle holds true, then any attempt to change history must result in events that were always meant to happen. This could mean that time travelers are not rewriting history but fulfilling it, ensuring that events unfold exactly as they should. But what about the paradoxes that arise when we consider such interference? One of the most famous is the bootstrap paradox, where an object or piece of information is passed through time in a loop without any discernible point of origin. Imagine a scientist in the future discovering the blueprint for a time machine, traveling back in time to give it to their younger self, who then builds the machine based on those blueprints. If this cycle continues infinitely, where did the original design come from? Was it ever truly created, or does it exist in an endless loop outside of causality? Another troubling paradox is the information paradox. What happens when knowledge from the future is introduced to the past? If a person from the future gives a composer a famous piece of music before they have written it, and that composer then claims credit for the work, who actually created it? Did the music ever truly originate, or was it merely transferred from one point in time to another, existing outside of conventional causality? These paradoxes suggest that time travel, if possible, must operate under restrictions we do not yet understand. Some theories propose that time itself has built-in safeguards that prevent major paradoxes from occurring. If a time traveler attempts to assassinate an important historical figure, some unforeseen event may prevent the action, whether through accident, failure, or sheer impossibility. This suggests that the timeline has a form of natural resilience, a way of self-correcting to prevent catastrophic changes. But what if time travelers do not interfere because they exist in a different form altogether? If civilizations millions or billions of years ahead of us have unlocked time travel, would they even need physical bodies? Could they exist as pure consciousness, moving freely across time, influencing reality in ways beyond our comprehension? If so, could some of the strange phenomena reported throughout history, visions, apparitions, unexplained knowledge, be interactions with these temporal entities? There is also the possibility that time travel is happening on a scale far greater than we can perceive. What if the universe itself is the result of a form of cosmic time travel, with intelligent civilizations guiding the evolution of reality from one cycle to the next? Some cosmologists speculate that if a civilization survives long enough, it may learn to manipulate the fundamental structure of the cosmos, even creating new universes. Could our universe be the result of such an advanced intelligence seeding its own past? If time travel is real, then every moment we experience could be part of a much grander design, one that extends beyond individual lifetimes, beyond civilizations, and even beyond the boundaries of this universe. Perhaps we are not merely moving forward in time, but instead playing a role in an intricate, eternal dance of existence, one shaped by forces from the past, present, and future, all converging in ways we have yet to understand. And if that is true, then the greatest mystery of all is not just whether time travel is possible, but whether we have already traveled through time without even realizing it. If time travel has already shaped our reality, then the very fabric of existence might be laced with hidden threads of influence from the future. Perhaps our entire perception of time is incomplete, limited by our biological and cognitive constraints. What if past, present, and future are not separate states but interconnected dimensions of a greater reality? If so, then understanding time travel may require a fundamental shift in how we view the universe itself. Many physicists speculate that time is not an absolute force but rather a dimension similar to space. If we can move freely through three spatial dimensions, why should time be any different? Einstein's theory of relativity already suggests that time is malleable. It slows down near strong gravitational fields and speeds up in weaker ones. But what if we could step beyond simply manipulating time's flow and truly navigate through it as we do space? One possibility is that time travel may not involve physical movement at all but rather a form of consciousness transfer. Some researchers have suggested that if time is a fixed block, then our experience of moving through it is merely an illusion. Our awareness simply shifts along the timeline. If this is true, then time travel could be achieved not through machines or wormholes but through altering the way consciousness perceives and interacts with time. If consciousness can be untethered from the present, then perhaps time travelers do not arrive in history in physical form but instead influence it through thought, intuition, or suggestion. Imagine a civilization so advanced that they can project their minds backward in time, subtly shaping history through indirect means. Could some of history's greatest ideas, inventions, or insights have been inspired by such influences? If so, then time travel may not require a machine at all but an evolved understanding of consciousness itself. Another question that remains unanswered is whether time travel would be limited to human understanding, or if it is a natural phenomenon occurring throughout the universe. What if black holes, neutron stars, or cosmic strings are already facilitating time travel on a cosmic scale? Some theorists propose that black holes could act as one-way portals to the future, where anything that falls inside experiences time differently from the rest of the universe. If information can somehow escape a black hole, whether through Hawking radiation or other unknown mechanisms, could it be transmitting knowledge from one era to another? Similarly, the concept of eternal recurrence suggests that the universe may be caught in an infinite cycle, repeating itself endlessly with slight variations. If this is true, then every civilization that has ever existed may rise, fall, and rise again in an unending loop of time. And if intelligent beings within those cycles gain the ability to manipulate time, could they seed each new iteration with information, guiding it toward a more advanced or stable future? But what if time is not a singular stream but a vast ocean of possibilities? The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics suggests that every possible outcome of an event creates a new branch of reality. If this is true, then traveling to the past may not alter the present but instead generate an entirely new timeline. Every attempt to change history would merely create a parallel universe, leaving the original reality unchanged. If time travelers from the future have visited us, are they simply exploring an endless web of alternate histories, each one slightly different from the last? If this is the case, then time travel may not be about changing the past but rather exploring an infinite number of possible presents. Perhaps the real goal of time travel is not to rewrite history but to discover which versions of reality are the most stable, successful, or meaningful. Could we one day learn to navigate this vast multiverse, choosing our own paths through the endless tapestry of time? If time travel is possible, then our journey through the cosmos is far more complex than we ever imagined. The universe may not be a linear story with a fixed beginning and end but an intricate network of timelines, overlapping, diverging, and converging in ways we have yet to grasp. And if we ever unlock the true nature of time, we may find that the greatest adventure of all is not in reaching the stars, but in discovering the infinite possibilities that have always existed, hidden within the very fabric of reality itself. If the universe truly operates as a vast network of interwoven timelines, then time travel may not be an anomaly but a fundamental part of reality itself. What if our perception of a single, unchanging past is merely a limitation of human consciousness? Could there be civilizations, either extraterrestrial or future human societies, that already navigate time as effortlessly as we navigate space? If so, are we merely a primitive species standing at the edge of an ocean we do not yet understand? One of the most fascinating implications of time travel is its potential to reveal hidden layers of reality. If time is not a linear progression but a multidimensional structure, then what we experience as the present may be only a sliver of a far more complex existence. Some physicists propose that reality is composed of multiple time dimensions, each interacting in ways beyond our comprehension. If such a structure exists, could it mean that time travelers are not bound to simple forward and backward movement but can instead access entirely new modes of existence? Consider the possibility that time travelers, if they exist, operate outside of our conventional understanding of physical space. Perhaps they do not arrive in history as physical beings but instead as patterns of energy, waves of information, or even encoded quantum states. Could historical accounts of strange visions, mysterious knowledge, or unexplained phenomena be remnants of such interactions? Could what we perceive as intuition, genius, or divine inspiration actually be the result of momentary glimpses into other points in time? If time travel is possible on a cosmic scale, then the universe itself may be shaped by intelligent intervention. What if the fundamental constants of physics, the fine structure constant, the strength of gravity, the nature of dark energy, have been finely tuned not by chance but by advanced beings manipulating the structure of time. Some physicists speculate that the conditions necessary for life are so precise that they could not have arisen randomly. If that is the case, could time travelers from an unimaginably distant future have played a role in shaping the universe to ensure its stability? This idea ties into the controversial hypothesis that the universe may be a self-sustaining system, where intelligent beings from the future ensure their own existence by shaping the past. If time is a loop rather than a straight line, then the emergence of advanced civilizations may not be an accident but a necessity, a repeating cycle where knowledge is passed through time in ways we do not yet understand. But if this is true, then what role do we play in this cycle? Are we on the path to becoming time travelers ourselves, destined to shape the very history we now perceive as fixed? Or are we simply a stepping stone in a much larger cosmic story, one that has been unfolding long before we existed and will continue long after we are gone? The ultimate question may not be whether time travel is possible, but whether we have the capacity to perceive it. If the nature of time is far more complex than we assume, then we may already be experiencing the effects of time travel without realizing it. Perhaps we are all travelers through time, not in the sense of machines and wormholes, but as consciousnesses navigating a reality that is far stranger than we ever imagined. And if that is the case, then the true mystery is not whether time travel exists, but whether we are already a part of its grand design. If time travel is not just a theoretical possibility, but a hidden function of the universe, then the implications stretch far beyond what we can currently comprehend. It would mean that the past, present, and future are not rigid states but fluid, interconnected points in a vast, multidimensional structure. If this is the case, then what we perceive as reality is merely a thin slice of a much greater existence, one that transcends our linear understanding of time. Some scientists speculate that if time travel exists, it may not be something that happens on a grand scale but rather something that occurs subtly, beneath the surface of our perception. Could it be that time travelers do not alter history in dramatic, obvious ways but instead guide events with the smallest of nudges? If history is a delicate web of interconnected causes and effects, then even the slightest change, an idea introduced too soon, a meeting that never happens, a discovery made decades earlier, could ripple outward, shaping the course of civilization in ways that appear natural to those experiencing it. This raises an unsettling question. How would we ever know if time travel has already happened? If advanced civilizations are capable of altering the past, would they not have mastered the art of doing so invisibly, without disrupting the apparent flow of time? Could our world be the result of countless unseen interventions, each one carefully designed to preserve the stability of history while subtly shaping its course? If so, then time travelers would not be reckless adventurers rewriting the past at will but careful curators of reality, ensuring that history remains coherent even as they guide its evolution. This idea aligns with the self-consistency principle, which suggests that any changes made to the past must be those that were always meant to happen. If a time traveler goes back and prevents a disaster, it may only be because history already contained that intervention. The event was never truly prevented, it was always destined to be altered. But what if history is not so rigid? What if the past is malleable, with every alteration spawning a new branch of reality? The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics suggests that all possible outcomes of an event exist in parallel universes. If this is true, then every decision, every action, and every moment may be creating an infinite number of divergent timelines. If time travelers exist, they may not be traveling within a single, unchanging timeline but instead moving across an ever-expanding multiverse of possibilities. If this is the case, then time travel would not be about changing history but about selecting which version of reality to experience. Perhaps every major decision, every pivotal event, is merely one path among many, with time travelers navigating these branches as easily as we navigate roads. Could it be that the choices we make are influenced by unseen forces guiding us towards specific outcomes? Could moments of déjà vu, intuition, or inexplicable coincidence be hints that we are moving through a reality subtly shaped by time travelers who came before us? If such an advanced understanding of time exists, then it is possible that the true nature of reality is far stranger than we ever imagined. What if we are not merely moving forward in time but are instead part of a vast, recursive cycle, one where civilizations rise, fall, and rise again, each time learning from the echoes of its predecessors? Some theories suggest that the universe itself may be caught in a never-ending loop, repeating itself with slight variations, each iteration carrying forward the knowledge of the last. If intelligent beings within these cycles gain the ability to manipulate time, could they seed each new version of reality with insights from their previous experiences? This raises a deeper question. If time travelers exist, do they originate from our future, or do they come from civilizations that existed long before us? If the universe is infinitely old, could there be beings who mastered time billions of years ago, observing and shaping the cosmos in ways we cannot yet perceive? If they are out there, what is their purpose? Are they merely explorers, moving through time as we move through space? Or are they caretakers, ensuring that reality unfolds in a stable, sustainable way? If time travelers are guiding history, then every major breakthrough in science, every great leap in human civilization, could be part of a grander design, one that we are only beginning to glimpse. But if time travelers are shaping history, why do they remain hidden? One possibility is that they operate under strict rules, intervening only when necessary. If they reveal themselves, they risk disrupting the natural flow of events, creating unpredictable consequences. If time travel is real, then secrecy may be its most essential principle, ensuring that history remains intact even as it is subtly guided. There is also the possibility that time travelers do not see reality as we do. If they have mastered time, then their perception of existence may be entirely different from ours. We experience life moment by moment, trapped in the present, unable to see the full scope of time. But a being that moves freely through time would perceive reality in a way we cannot even imagine. To them, all of history, past, present, and future, may exist simultaneously, like a vast landscape they can explore at will. If this is true, then time travel may not be about going back to the past or jumping forward to the future, but about stepping outside of time altogether. Perhaps the real breakthrough is not in building machines to travel through time, but in expanding consciousness to perceive time in its entirety. And if we are on the path to discovering this truth, what happens when we finally understand it? Will time travel become a tool for exploration, allowing us to witness the dawn of the universe and the farthest reaches of the future? Or will it reveal that our entire existence is part of an intricate cycle, one that we are destined to repeat again and again? Perhaps the ultimate question is not whether time travel is possible, but whether we are already part of its grand design. If the universe is structured in such a way that intelligent beings inevitably discover the secrets of time, then time travel may not be a futuristic dream but an essential part of our destiny. And if that is true, then everything we have ever known, every moment, every choice, every event, may be shaped by forces that transcend time itself. If time travel is an inevitable part of our future, then the boundaries between past, present, and future are far less rigid than we once believed. It forces us to reconsider everything we know about causality, free will, and even the nature of consciousness itself. Are we making choices, or are our actions already determined by a timeline that has been shaped by those who came before, and perhaps even those who will come after? This brings us to one of the most profound paradoxes of time travel. If someone from the future has already altered history, then have we ever truly had control over our own destiny? The concept of predestination suggests that time travelers may not be changing the past but fulfilling it. In other words, their actions are already part of history. If that is true, then our future may not be something we create, but something that has already been written by those who have walked through time before us. This idea leads to a fascinating implication. Time travel might not just be possible, it might be necessary. If civilizations throughout the universe eventually reach a point where they can manipulate time, then perhaps they all play a role in preserving history and ensuring that reality remains stable. This would mean that the development of time travel is not just an experiment in physics, but an evolutionary step in the survival of intelligent life. But what if civilizations failed to control time travel responsibly? If a society gained access to unrestricted time manipulation, the consequences could be catastrophic. Imagine a reality where different factions are competing to rewrite history, creating endless paradoxes, contradictions, and instabilities in the timeline. If time is a delicate balance, then such interference could unravel the very fabric of reality itself. This raises an intriguing possibility. What if natural laws or universal safeguards prevent reckless time travel? Some physicists propose that there may be built-in mechanisms within the structure of time that stop major alterations from occurring. Stephen Hawking once speculated that paradoxes might be prevented by the laws of physics themselves. According to this idea, time travel may be possible, but only in ways that do not disrupt the consistency of the universe. This could explain why we have never encountered definitive proof of time travelers. If they exist, they may be bound by rules that prevent them from interfering in ways that would be noticeable. They may operate from behind the scenes, subtly guiding events without ever making their presence known. Or, more intriguingly, they may exist outside of our perception entirely, experiencing reality in a way that is incomprehensible to beings trapped in linear time. One of the most unsettling implications of time travel is that it challenges the very nature of identity. If time is not fixed, then who we are is not fixed either. If a time traveler goes back and changes a seemingly minor event, the ripple effects could alter countless lives, including their own. This raises an existential question. If history has been rewritten, do the original versions of those events still exist somewhere? Are there echoes of previous realities, lingering in the fabric of the cosmos? Some scientists speculate that if time travel is possible, then consciousness itself may not be bound to a single timeline. Could our awareness shift between different versions of history, even if we do not consciously perceive it? Could this explain strange occurrences like déjà vu, precognition, or the feeling that something in the world has subtly changed without explanation? This brings us to an even stranger hypothesis. What if our universe is not the first version of reality? Some theories suggest that the cosmos has undergone multiple iterations, each one slightly different from the last. If time travel is real, then advanced civilizations may have already intervened in previous cycles of reality, shaping the universe into what it is today. Could it be that we are living in a timeline that has already been refined through countless iterations, each one adjusted to ensure stability? If so, then our perception of history is merely a single layer of a much deeper structure. What we see as the past may not be the only version that has ever existed. Time travelers, if they exist, may not just be moving through history, they may be engineers of reality itself, sculpting the cosmos to maintain order in ways we cannot yet fathom. But if time travel is possible, it also raises the possibility that other civilizations, perhaps even our own distant descendants, are watching us right now. Could beings from the far future be studying our era, observing how history unfolds, and ensuring that critical events happen as they should? If they have the power to intervene, have they already done so? Could moments in history that seemed like mere chance actually be the result of unseen hands guiding the course of events? And if they are watching, then what are they waiting for? Are we on the verge of discovering the secrets of time travel ourselves? If so, will we use it wisely, or will we become trapped in the very paradoxes we seek to control? If time is a river, then we are standing at its edge, looking into its depths, wondering if we will one day learn to navigate its currents. But perhaps the greatest mystery of all is not whether time travel is possible, but whether we are ready to understand it. If the universe has hidden the secrets of time from us, perhaps it is because we are not yet prepared to wield such power. And if that is the case, then the real question is not whether we can travel through time, but whether we should. If time travel is real, then we must ask ourselves, what does it mean for the nature of reality itself? Are we existing in a single, continuous timeline, or is reality more like a vast, interconnected web of possibilities where every event branches into multiple outcomes? If time is not fixed, then the universe may not be a single, deterministic structure, but a fluid and dynamic system that responds to the actions of those who have mastered its secrets. One of the most intriguing theories that supports this idea is the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. According to this theory, every possible outcome of an event actually happens, but in separate, parallel universes. If true, then time travelers would not simply be changing history, they would be creating entirely new realities. Every decision they make, every interaction they have, could spawn an alternate version of the universe where history unfolds in a different way. This raises an unsettling possibility. If time travelers have already altered history, then how would we ever know? If every change creates a new timeline, then the version of reality we experience may not be the original one. Perhaps we are living in a universe that has already been shaped by unseen hands, where history has been rewritten countless times, and we are simply unaware of the previous iterations. But if time travel is occurring on a grand scale, then who is controlling it? Are there civilizations in the far future that regulate the movement of time travelers, ensuring that history unfolds as it should? Some have speculated that if time travel is possible, then it may be governed by a set of universal laws, rules that prevent individuals from disrupting the timeline in destructive ways. One potential way these laws could manifest is through self-correcting mechanisms within time itself. Some scientists have proposed the Novikov self-consistency principle, which suggests that the universe naturally prevents paradoxes by ensuring that any changes a time traveler makes are already part of history. In this view, you could go back in time, but you would only ever be able to do things that fit within the existing timeline. You could not actually alter the past in a way that contradicts the present. But what if time is not self-correcting? What if changes to the past can ripple forward, rewriting history in ways we cannot predict? If that is the case, then time travel could be one of the most dangerous technologies ever discovered. A single misstep, a single alteration to a seemingly insignificant event, could have catastrophic consequences. This is why some theorists believe that if time travel is possible, then its use would be tightly controlled, or even actively hidden from the general public. If a civilization reached the point where it could manipulate time, then it would need to ensure that only the most responsible individuals had access to it. In this scenario, time travel may not be a tool for exploration, but a closely guarded secret, known only to those who are tasked with preserving the integrity of history. And yet there are those who believe that time travelers may already be among us. Some researchers have attempted to find evidence of time travel by looking for anomalies in historical records, instances where technology, knowledge, or events appear to be out of place. But if time travelers are here, why do they not reveal themselves? One possibility is that they are bound by strict rules that prevent them from interfering in ways that would disrupt history. If they have the ability to move through time, then they may also have the wisdom to know that revealing their existence could have unintended consequences. Perhaps they operate in secret, observing but never directly intervening, ensuring that history unfolds as it was meant to. Or perhaps they do intervene, but only in ways that are subtle enough to go unnoticed. Some have speculated that time travelers may be responsible for guiding key moments in history, nudging events in certain directions without leaving obvious traces of their involvement. If this is true, then history may not be the result of chance, but the carefully managed outcome of a process that has been refined through countless iterations of time. But what if time travelers are not from the future, but from an entirely different reality? If parallel universes exist, then it is possible that what we perceive as time travel is actually a form of interdimensional travel. Instead of moving through our own timeline, travelers from alternate realities may be crossing over into ours, observing our history, and perhaps even interacting with it. This would mean that what we think of as the past is not a fixed place, but a vast landscape of possibilities that extends beyond our understanding. If the multiverse is real, then time travelers may not just be moving through history, they may be navigating a web of realities where every possible version of events exists somewhere. And if that is the case, then we must consider the implications. If time travelers can move between different versions of history, then are we truly living in the original timeline? Or are we already existing in a version of reality that has been shaped by countless travelers before us, each one making subtle adjustments that have led to the world we know today? The deeper we dive into the mysteries of time travel, the more we realize how little we truly understand. If time is not a straight line, but a vast, interconnected network of possibilities, then the future is not something that simply happens. It is something that is shaped, refined, and perhaps even rewritten by those who have learned to master its secrets. And if that is the case, then we must ask ourselves, what role do we play in this grand cosmic puzzle? Are we merely passengers on a journey through time, or do we have the potential to become something more? If the universe has hidden the answers from us, then perhaps it is because we are not yet ready to grasp them. But one thing is certain: the mystery of time travel is far from solved, and the answers may be far stranger than we could ever imagine. If time travel is possible, then it redefines our understanding of existence itself. It suggests that our lives are not confined to a single, linear progression but instead are part of a vast, interconnected system where past, present, and future may be malleable. This realization brings us to a crucial question: if we could move through time at will, would we remain the same person, or would each jump through history change us in ways we cannot comprehend? Some scientists propose that time is not just a dimension to be traversed, but a fundamental aspect of consciousness. If our perception of time is limited by the structure of our brains, then unlocking the ability to travel through time could fundamentally alter how we experience reality. Could a time traveler's mind function differently than ours? Would they see all of history at once, experiencing events not in sequence but as a simultaneous whole? This idea aligns with certain interpretations of quantum mechanics, which suggest that time may not flow in a single direction. Instead, it could be more like a block universe, where every moment, past, present, and future, exists simultaneously. In this framework, time travel would not be a journey through a changing landscape but a shift in perception, like focusing a lens to see different points of an already completed picture. But if all of time exists at once, then what does it mean for free will? Are we making choices, or are our actions predetermined by a history that has already played out? If time travel exists, then it raises the unsettling possibility that we are simply playing out roles in a timeline that has already been shaped by those who came before, or after, us. This brings us to an even deeper mystery. If the universe permits time travel, then what is its ultimate purpose? Could it be a natural feature of advanced civilizations, a tool used to refine history and guide societies toward a better future? Or is time travel something far more fundamental, an intrinsic property of existence itself that has always been present, waiting for us to uncover it? Some theorists suggest that time travel may be woven into the very fabric of reality. If wormholes exist, if cosmic strings can bend time, if quantum mechanics allows for retrocausality, then perhaps time travel is not a rare anomaly but a hidden aspect of the universe that we have simply not yet learned to harness. If this is true, then time travelers may not be distant visitors from the future. They may already be among us, operating in ways beyond our understanding. This raises another compelling question. If time travelers exist, then why have they not revealed themselves? One possibility is that they are bound by a set of universal laws that prevent them from interfering in ways that would disrupt the timeline. But another, more unsettling possibility is that we simply would not be able to perceive them. If their understanding of time is vastly superior to ours, then they may operate on a level of reality that is beyond our comprehension. Imagine a being that moves through time as easily as we move through space. To them, our entire civilization might appear as a single moment, a frozen image in a vast cosmic landscape. They would see the rise and fall of empires, the birth and death of stars, the entire history of the universe laid out before them. If such beings exist, then their motives would be beyond anything we could understand. Would they be scientists, historians, guardians of the timeline? Or would they be something even stranger, entities whose very nature is shaped by the fluidity of time itself? And what if time travel is not something that happens within the universe, but something that happens to the universe? Some physicists speculate that our entire cosmos could be part of a larger cycle of existence, where time itself resets, creating new versions of reality over and over again. If this is true, then perhaps time travelers are not moving through a single timeline but navigating between different iterations of the universe, ensuring that each cycle unfolds in a way that maintains balance and order. But if this is the case, then the most important question remains: are we meant to discover time travel, or are we meant to remain unaware of it? If civilizations throughout the universe have reached the point of mastering time, then why have we not yet received proof? Is there a reason why time travel remains just out of reach, an elusive mystery that we can never quite solve? Perhaps the answer lies in the nature of discovery itself. Some knowledge is too powerful, too dangerous, to be wielded without responsibility. If time travel exists, then perhaps there are safeguards in place, cosmic rules that prevent civilizations from unlocking it before they are ready. Maybe that is why we have not yet found a way to move through time, why every attempt to prove its existence ends in uncertainty. The universe may be protecting us from a truth we are not yet prepared to handle. And yet, the question lingers, are we alone in time, or are we part of something much greater? If time travel is possible, then the universe is far stranger than we have ever imagined. The past may not be fixed, the future may not be uncertain, and reality itself may be shaped by forces we cannot yet perceive. If there are travelers among us, whether from the future, from parallel worlds, or from cycles of the universe we have yet to comprehend, then they may already know the answer. And perhaps, one day, we will join them, stepping beyond the limits of time and seeing the cosmos for what it truly is, not a collection of fleeting moments, but an endless, ever-changing tapestry of possibilities. If time travel is a reality, then we must reconsider the very nature of existence itself. It is no longer just about whether we can move forward or backward in time, but about what that movement implies for our understanding of reality. Is the universe truly a deterministic machine, where every event is set in stone? Or is it a fluid, ever-changing construct where time travelers can rewrite history as easily as an author edits a book? One of the most perplexing ideas that emerges from time travel theories is the concept of causality itself. Traditionally, we think of cause and effect as a linear process. An event happens, leading to a consequence. But time travel challenges this notion, suggesting that an effect could precede its own cause. This paradoxical idea is at the heart of many time travel discussions, from the grandfather paradox to the possibility of self-fulfilling loops. For instance, what if a scientist from the future travels back in time and teaches Einstein the theory of relativity before Einstein discovers it himself? In this scenario, where did the idea originally come from? If Einstein only learned it from a time traveler, and the time traveler only knew it because Einstein had already discovered it, then the knowledge exists without a clear origin. This kind of paradox, where information or objects seem to appear from nowhere, is sometimes called a bootstrap paradox. These paradoxes suggest that time travel may not be as simple as stepping into a machine and setting a date. Instead, it may require an entirely different framework for understanding how reality operates. If a time traveler's actions in the past can directly influence the future, then we must ask, does free will still exist? Or is history already shaped by forces outside our control, with time travelers acting as hidden architects of our reality? Some physicists believe that the answer lies in quantum mechanics. In particular, the concept of quantum entanglement, the idea that two particles can be instantaneously connected across vast distances, raises the possibility that time itself may be connected in ways we do not yet understand. Could it be that events in the past and future are entangled, influencing each other across time just as entangled particles do in space? If this is the case, then time travel may not be a matter of moving through time, but of accessing deeper layers of reality where past, present, and future exist simultaneously. This idea aligns with the block universe theory, which suggests that all of time, every event that has ever happened and ever will happen, already exists as a single, unchanging structure. If true, then time travelers would not be altering history, but merely navigating a landscape that already includes their actions. But what about the possibility that time is not fixed? What if every change a time traveler makes results in a branching timeline, where new realities are created with every decision? This idea, known as the many worlds interpretation, suggests that every possible outcome of every event actually happens, but in separate, parallel universes. If time travelers exist, then perhaps they are not changing our history, but simply moving between different versions of reality, exploring the infinite variations of existence. This concept raises an intriguing question. If infinite versions of history exist, then how do we know we are living in the original timeline? What if we have already been visited by time travelers who have subtly altered the past, creating the reality we now experience? Could the world we know be the result of countless iterations of history, shaped by unseen hands throughout time? And if time travelers have the power to shape history, then who controls them? Some theorists have suggested that there may be a higher order of beings, whether advanced civilizations, artificial intelligences, or even unknown cosmic entities, who regulate time travel, ensuring that history unfolds according to a predetermined plan. If such entities exist, then they may have rules preventing individuals from making reckless changes, ensuring that time remains stable despite the potential chaos of time travel. But what if time travel is not a technology to be discovered, but a natural process of the universe? Some scientists believe that time may be cyclical, repeating itself in endless loops. In this view, history is not something that happens once, but something that plays out again and again, with small variations each time. If so, then time travelers may not be moving through time, but simply remembering past cycles, reliving events with the knowledge of what has come before. But if time repeats, then what role do we play? Are we merely passengers in a cosmic cycle, doomed to repeat our actions forever? Or do we have the ability to break free, to change our destiny and alter the course of time itself? If time travel is possible, then the ultimate question is not just how it works, but what it means for the nature of human existence. If the past is changeable, then so is the future. If time is a vast, interconnected web, then every action we take may ripple across history in ways we cannot predict. And if there are time travelers among us, then we may already be living in a world shaped by those who have seen what lies ahead. Perhaps, the greatest mystery of time travel is not whether it is possible, but whether we are ready for it. If the secrets of time are ever unlocked, they may reveal not just new ways to move through history, but new ways to understand ourselves, our choices, and the true nature of the universe itself. If time travel exists, then it forces us to reconsider everything we believe about fate, destiny, and free will. Are our actions truly our own, or are they shaped by unseen forces that have already influenced the timeline? If the future is already written and time travelers have the ability to traverse it, does that mean our choices are mere illusions? Or does time travel itself introduce the possibility that history is constantly shifting, rewritten by those who have learned to manipulate it? One of the most unsettling implications of time travel is the idea that we may not be in control of our own history. If individuals or advanced civilizations have the ability to move through time, then who decides which version of history remains? If time travelers have already altered key moments in the past, then the world we know today could be the result of countless revisions, changes that have erased entire realities, leaving only traces of what once was. This leads to the fascinating possibility that time travel is not just a tool for exploration, but a method of control. If a group had the power to manipulate the past, they could subtly shape events to ensure certain outcomes, avoiding catastrophes, eliminating rivals, or even creating entirely new futures. If time travel has been discovered by a future civilization, then we must ask, are they using it to guide us toward a better future, or are they simply maintaining the version of history that benefits them most? Some scientists suggest that if time travelers exist, they may operate under strict ethical guidelines, avoiding direct interference except in extreme cases. This could explain why we have never seen obvious signs of time travelers in our history. Perhaps they work in secrecy, ensuring that the timeline remains stable while preventing paradoxes that could unravel reality itself. But what if time travelers do not need to physically move through time at all? Some physicists speculate that time travel could occur on a quantum level, allowing for subtle changes without requiring a physical presence. If consciousness itself is somehow linked to the structure of time, then advanced beings, or even future versions of ourselves, could influence the past and future without ever needing to step into a time machine. This raises an even more intriguing question. If time travel is possible, then could our thoughts and memories be affected by it? Some researchers have proposed that déjà vu, precognition, and other strange mental phenomena might be evidence of subtle time distortions. If information can travel backward in time, then perhaps our brains sometimes pick up glimpses of alternate timelines, memories of events that have not yet happened, or echoes of realities that no longer exist. If time travelers are among us, then they may not appear as futuristic explorers in metallic suits. They could be individuals who possess an innate understanding of time, able to perceive past, present, and future as a single entity. They may not even be aware of their abilities, experiencing visions or strange insights without realizing they are glimpses into different points in time. But if such beings exist, then what is their purpose? Are they merely observers, watching history unfold? Or are they guiding humanity toward a specific destiny? If time travel is possible, then it suggests that our future is not fixed, that it can be rewritten, shaped, and altered in ways we do not yet comprehend. One of the most profound implications of time travel is that it could offer an answer to one of humanity's oldest questions: what happens after death? If time is not linear, then could consciousness itself transcend the boundaries of life and death? Some have speculated that near-death experiences, out-of-body sensations, and even ghostly encounters might be linked to time distortions, where individuals briefly step outside the normal flow of time and glimpse different moments of existence. If the universe permits time travel, then it may not just be a scientific phenomenon, it could be a fundamental aspect of existence, woven into the very nature of reality. It may mean that every moment of our lives is part of a vast, interconnected tapestry where past, present, and future all coexist. And if that is true, then we may already be time travelers, moving through the fabric of time without even realizing it. Perhaps, the question is not whether time travel is possible, but whether we are prepared for what it reveals. If we one day unlock the secrets of time, we may find that the answers were always there, waiting for us to discover them. And when that moment comes, we will no longer be bound by the limits of the present. We will become explorers of time itself, stepping into a universe far stranger and more mysterious than we ever imagined. If time travel is not only possible but already occurring in some form, then it fundamentally alters our understanding of reality. It suggests that time is not a rigid, linear progression, but something malleable, something that can be bent, stretched, or even rewritten. If this is true, then every decision, every moment, every historical event may be part of a dynamic system where the past is not fixed, but fluid. This opens the door to a deeply unsettling possibility. What if our memories, our history, and even our identities have already been changed without us realizing it? Some scientists and philosophers have speculated that if time travelers have ever altered the past, then we would have no way of knowing. Our memories would align with the newly revised timeline, and any previous version of reality would be erased from existence. This could mean that history itself is a shifting construct, constantly revised by those with the ability to move through time. What if major world events we take for granted, wars, discoveries, revolutions, were not originally supposed to happen, but were engineered by unseen hands manipulating the timeline for their own purposes? If time travelers are responsible for shaping history, then the question becomes, to what end? Are they trying to correct mistakes, preventing disasters before they occur? Or are they pursuing their own agendas, creating the version of history that best suits their needs? If they have the power to alter time, do they also have the wisdom to use it responsibly? Some physicists have suggested that the universe itself might resist large-scale changes to the past. This is sometimes called the Novikov self-consistency principle, which proposes that any action taken by a time traveler in the past must be self-consistent with history as we know it. In other words, the universe may have built-in safeguards preventing paradoxes from occurring. If someone were to travel back in time and attempt to change a major historical event, the timeline might correct itself, ensuring that the event still unfolds in some form. But what if time travelers do not need to make direct changes? What if their influence is more subtle, whispered into the minds of inventors, leaders, and visionaries? What if the great leaps of human progress, from the discovery of fire to the development of quantum mechanics, were guided by beings who already knew what the future should hold? Could inspiration itself be a form of time travel, where ideas move backward from the future into the minds of those destined to create them? Some researchers have even suggested that dreams and visions could be fragments of alternate timelines, echoes of realities that no longer exist or glimpses of futures that have not yet come to pass. If consciousness is in any way connected to the flow of time, then perhaps some individuals are more sensitive to these fluctuations, experiencing moments of foresight or déjà vu that hint at deeper temporal mysteries. If this is the case, then time travel may not be a technological achievement waiting to be unlocked, but a phenomenon that has always existed, hidden within the nature of reality itself. What if the so-called Mandela effect, this strange phenomenon where large groups of people remember events differently than recorded history, was actually evidence of timeline shifts, where reality has been subtly altered, leaving behind only residual memories of the previous version? If time travelers are among us, operating unseen, then how far does their influence extend? Could they be responsible for the rise and fall of civilizations, the course of evolution, or even the fundamental structure of the universe itself? If history is being guided by forces beyond our perception, then are we truly the authors of our own fate, or merely players in a script written by those who understand time in ways we cannot? Perhaps the most chilling possibility is that time travel is not a tool we will discover in the future, but one that has already been used to its full extent. What if the ultimate goal of time travelers was to construct a version of reality that is optimal for their needs, and we are now living in the final, perfected iteration of that process? If so, then time travel may not be something we are meant to achieve. It may be something that has already shaped us, ensuring that we never stray from the intended path. And yet, the possibility remains that time travel is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. If the universe allows movement through time, then it means that the past, present, and future are all part of a greater whole, a single, interconnected reality where every moment exists simultaneously. If we could learn to navigate this structure, we would not just be moving through time, we would be seeing the universe as it truly is, free from the illusion of linear progression. If time travel is possible, then it may hold the key to understanding the deepest mysteries of existence. It may allow us to explore our origins, to witness the birth and death of the cosmos, and to unlock the true nature of consciousness itself. And if there are beings who have already mastered time, then the greatest question is not whether they exist, but what they know, what secrets they have uncovered, and whether they will one day share them with us. The journey to understanding time travel is not just about physics or technology. It is a journey into the very nature of reality, challenging everything we think we know about existence. If time travel is real, then it means the universe is far stranger than we ever imagined, and that our place within it is more mysterious than we could ever comprehend. If time travel is real, then reality itself may be far more complex than we ever imagined. It suggests that the universe is not a simple, linear sequence of events but a vast, interconnected structure where past, present, and future exist simultaneously. This concept is sometimes referred to as the block universe model of time, which proposes that every moment, past, present, and future, already exists, much like the frames of a film reel. If this is true, then time travel is not so much about changing the past or creating the future, but rather navigating a landscape that already exists in its entirety. However, if time is indeed structured in this way, then it raises an even deeper question. Do we truly have free will? If the future is already set, then does that mean our choices are predetermined, simply playing out according to the rules of a fixed timeline? Or is it possible that time is fluid, capable of being altered by those who learn to manipulate it? If a time traveler were to journey into the past and attempt to change a significant event, would they truly be rewriting history? Or would they merely be fulfilling a role that had already been established? One of the most famous thought experiments in time travel is the grandfather paradox. If you were to travel back in time and prevent your grandfather from meeting your grandmother, then you would never be born, which means you could never have traveled back in time in the first place. This paradox has led some scientists to propose that time may contain self-correcting mechanisms, preventing changes that would create logical inconsistencies. In this view, any attempt to alter history would either be impossible or would somehow result in events unfolding in a way that maintains consistency with the present. This idea aligns with the Novikov self-consistency principle, which suggests that the timeline cannot be altered in ways that create contradictions. If time travel exists, then any actions taken in the past must already be accounted for within history as we know it. This would mean that if time travelers have ever intervened in historical events, their actions were always meant to happen and were already woven into the fabric of time itself. But what if time travelers do not experience the same limitations as we do? Some physicists have proposed that if time travel is possible, it may involve parallel timelines or alternate realities. Instead of changing the past in their own timeline, a time traveler might simply create or enter a different branch of reality, one where events unfold differently from the original timeline. This concept aligns with the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, which suggests that every possible outcome of an event spawns a new, separate reality. If this is true, then time travelers may not be revising history but instead shifting between different versions of it. In this case, the paradoxes associated with time travel would disappear, because any changes made in the past would simply create a new timeline rather than affecting the one from which the traveler originated. If multiple realities exist, then every decision, every action, and every moment could potentially give rise to countless alternate versions of history. Some have speculated that if time travelers are moving between timelines, then we might occasionally catch glimpses of their influence. Strange anomalies, unexplained artifacts, or even shifts in collective memory, such as the Mandela effect, could be signs that our timeline has been subtly altered. Could it be that we sometimes remember things differently because we have unknowingly crossed into a slightly different version of reality? If so, then time travel may not be an isolated event but an ongoing process, shaping the world in ways we cannot yet fully comprehend. But if time travelers exist, then where are they? The Fermi paradox asks why, given the vastness of the universe, we have not yet encountered extraterrestrial civilizations. A similar question could be asked about time travelers. If future humans or advanced beings have discovered the secrets of time travel, then why do we not see clear evidence of their presence? One possibility is that time travelers operate in secrecy, carefully avoiding actions that would reveal their existence. If they follow strict rules, perhaps a form of temporal prime directive, they may deliberately ensure that their presence remains undetected, either by erasing evidence of their actions or by blending into history in ways that prevent suspicion. Another possibility is that time travel is much more difficult or dangerous than we imagine. Perhaps the technology required to move through time is so advanced that only a select few ever achieve it, and even then, they may be limited in how they can interact with history. If altering the past risks catastrophic consequences, then time travelers may choose to observe rather than intervene. It is also possible that time travel is not a physical journey at all but a phenomenon tied to consciousness. Some theories suggest that rather than transporting the body through time, it may be possible to send information, or even awareness, across different points in the timeline. If consciousness itself is not bound by time, then future humans might have developed methods of mentally traveling through time, influencing the past through intuition, inspiration, or other subtle means. As we continue to explore the mysteries of time, one thing becomes clear: the more we learn, the more questions arise. If time travel is possible, then it holds the key to understanding the true nature of reality. Whether through wormholes, quantum mechanics, or consciousness itself, the ability to move through time may one day redefine our understanding of existence. And if time travel has already been achieved, then the most important question is not how it works, but who controls it, and what they have chosen to do with that knowledge. Are we living in the version of history they have designed? Have we already been influenced in ways we do not yet realize? And if so, what does that mean for the future of humanity? Perhaps the greatest secret of time travel is that we are already part of it, unknowingly moving through a vast, interconnected web of timelines where the past, present, and future are all part of the same eternal structure. If time travelers exist, then they may not be visitors from the future, but architects of reality itself, shaping history, guiding evolution, and ensuring that the universe unfolds according to a grand design beyond our comprehension. And if that is true, then the final question remains: are we merely passengers in this journey through time, or will we one day take control of our own destiny, unlocking the secrets of time and stepping beyond the limits of the present into the infinite possibilities of the universe? If time travel is more than just a theoretical possibility, then it could mean that our understanding of reality is fundamentally flawed. It would suggest that the universe is not simply governed by the progression of time but by a deeper, more intricate structure where time itself is just another dimension, one that can be traversed under the right conditions. This challenges not just physics but also our philosophical and existential beliefs. What does it mean to exist if time is not linear? Are we truly experiencing reality, Or are we merely perceiving a fraction of what actually exists? One of the most puzzling implications of time travel is the nature of cause and effect. Our understanding of the universe is built on the assumption that causes precede effects, that events unfold in a sequence, and that history is a record of what has already happened. But time travel suggests that this structure is not absolute. If someone from the future can influence the past, then what defines the original timeline? Is there even such a thing as an original timeline, or is every version of history simply another iteration of a self-perpetuating loop? This brings us to the idea of a causal loop, sometimes called a predestination paradox. In this scenario, events occur because of time travel, meaning that the time traveler was always meant to go back in time and influence history in a way that ensures their own journey takes place. Imagine a time traveler who goes back in time to give Shakespeare his own plays, meaning Shakespeare never actually wrote them, he simply copied them from the future. Where, then, did the plays truly originate? This kind of paradox suggests that certain events may have no true beginning, existing in an eternal cycle where cause and effect feed into each other indefinitely. If these paradoxes exist, then it raises serious questions about how the universe maintains consistency. Some theories suggest that nature has built-in safeguards that prevent these kinds of contradictions. The quantum suicide, or quantum immortality, hypothesis, for instance, proposes that time travelers who attempt to alter history might simply find themselves in a parallel timeline, one where the change they attempted is possible but does not affect their original reality. This would mean that every time travel event results in a branching of realities, rather than a single unified timeline being rewritten. But if alternate timelines exist, then it means that there may be infinite versions of history, each playing out differently based on the choices made at every moment. This aligns with Hugh Everett's many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, which suggests that every possible event creates a separate reality. In this view, time travelers do not change history but simply shift into another version of reality, meaning that from their original perspective, nothing has changed at all. However, even if time travel is possible in theory, the technological challenges remain almost unimaginable. To manipulate time, one would need to harness energies far beyond anything currently achievable. Even wormholes, which are among the most promising theoretical pathways for time travel, would require enormous amounts of exotic matter with negative energy density, something that has not yet been observed in large quantities. If such materials exist, they may only be accessible in extreme environments, such as the hearts of black holes or the quantum fabric of space itself. This raises another question: could time travel be a naturally occurring phenomenon? If certain cosmic structures, such as black holes, already possess the extreme conditions necessary to distort time, then is it possible that some regions of the universe act as natural time portals? Some astrophysicists speculate that highly advanced civilizations, if they exist, may have already discovered ways to exploit these natural time distortions, using them as gateways to different points in history. If so, then time travelers may not be futuristic humans at all but beings who have learned to navigate the hidden pathways of time that exist throughout the cosmos. The idea that time is not a rigid, one-way progression but a vast, interconnected web is not just a scientific curiosity. It has profound implications for our understanding of existence itself. If time is something that can be traveled, then it is something that can be studied, manipulated, and perhaps even controlled. And if that is true, then the greatest mystery may not be whether time travel is possible, but what secrets have already been unlocked by those who have discovered it. Could our reality have already been shaped by time travelers? If so, what might their goals be? Have they subtly influenced key moments in history to guide humanity toward a specific future? And if they have, then how much of what we perceive as history is truly the result of free will? And how much has already been determined by those who exist outside the limits of time? Perhaps the ultimate question is this: if time travel exists, then what does it say about our future? If time travelers from a distant era have visited the past, then it implies that human civilization, or some form of intelligent life, has survived long enough to develop this incredible technology. That alone is an encouraging thought. It suggests that in some version of the future, humanity has not only endured but has reached a level of understanding that allows it to break free from the constraints of time itself. But what if we are not meant to know? If time travelers exist, then they may have strict rules preventing them from revealing their presence. Perhaps the very fabric of reality depends on maintaining the illusion that time flows in one direction. If too many people become aware of time travel, would it lead to instability? Would it create a society where no event is ever final, where history is rewritten endlessly by those seeking to manipulate the past? The greatest mystery of time travel may not be whether it is possible but whether it is already happening, hidden just beyond the limits of our perception. If time travelers walk among us, then they may already know how our story unfolds. They may have witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations, the turning points of history, and the ultimate fate of the universe itself. And if they are watching, then what message would they leave for us? Would they warn us of dangers ahead? Would they guide us toward a better future? Or would they simply remain silent, allowing us to find our own way through the labyrinth of time, just as they once did? Maybe, just maybe, the answers are already out there, waiting for us in a future that has already happened, in a past that has yet to be written. And when we finally unlock the secrets of time, we may realize that we were never truly alone. If time travel is real, whether through wormholes, cosmic strings, or some yet unknown mechanism, it raises one of the most profound questions in human history. Has it already happened? Could time travelers from the future be among us, subtly shaping events to ensure the timeline unfolds in a specific way? If so, how would we ever recognize them? Would they walk undetected, blending seamlessly into our world, or would they leave behind traces, small, inexplicable anomalies in history, moments that defy logical explanation? Some physicists argue that if time travel is possible, it might be governed by self-consistency principles, meaning that travelers from the future cannot alter the past in a way that prevents them from existing in the first place. This would imply that if time travelers have visited us, they were always meant to be part of history, acting in ways that maintain the consistency of events rather than rewriting them. This idea aligns with the Novikov self-consistency principle, which suggests that any action taken by a time traveler must have already been accounted for in the timeline. But what if the reality is more complex? What if time travel is not a singular, deterministic event but a chaotic, branching process where every action creates a new version of history? This leads to the multiverse hypothesis, where every possible timeline exists simultaneously, each representing a different outcome of every choice ever made. In this view, a time traveler who attempts to alter history does not change their own past but simply shifts into a new reality, where events unfold according to their intervention. If true, this would mean that infinite versions of history exist, each with its own variations. There could be realities where humanity discovered time travel in ancient times, where civilizations rose and fell in ways completely different from what we know. In some versions of history, time travel might have been suppressed, deemed too dangerous to use. In others, it could be common knowledge, an integral part of everyday life. If the multiverse is real, then time travelers might not be visitors from our own future but from parallel realities, slipping between dimensions in ways we cannot yet comprehend. But what would happen if these travelers from different timelines encountered each other? Would their realities merge, or would they remain separate? Could time travelers create paradoxes by interfering with versions of history that were never meant to interact? If someone from one timeline prevented an event in another, would it collapse that reality? Or would it simply branch further into even more possibilities? These questions push the limits of what we can understand. If the universe operates under quantum principles, then it may be that time is not a rigid sequence but a fluid, malleable construct. It might be possible that time travelers can navigate these quantum fluctuations, choosing which version of history to enter while avoiding paradoxes entirely. This would imply a kind of quantum intelligence, an ability to perceive all possible timelines at once and determine the optimal path through them. Yet, despite all these possibilities, we have no concrete evidence that time travel has ever occurred. Some scientists argue that if time travel were possible, we should have already seen visitors from the future making their presence known. However, this assumes that time travelers would have any reason to reveal themselves. If time travel is tightly regulated, either by physics itself or by an advanced civilization that has mastered it, then it might be that no one is allowed to interfere with history in a noticeable way. Some theorists have proposed the time travel quarantine hypothesis, suggesting that any civilization advanced enough to achieve time travel also understands the catastrophic consequences of altering the past. If they exist, they may operate under strict laws preventing them from interfering with historical events, ensuring that no paradoxes or disruptions occur. They might observe but never intervene, watching history unfold without leaving a trace. But what if accidents happen? Could there be instances where time travelers have slipped up, leaving behind anomalies that we struggle to explain? Some researchers have examined historical mysteries, looking for evidence of unexplained technology, knowledge, or individuals who seem out of place. While most of these claims are speculative, they raise an interesting question. If time travelers were ever discovered, how would society react? Would we embrace the knowledge that time is traversable, or would it disrupt our understanding of reality so profoundly that it could lead to chaos? If time travel is possible, it also raises the question of how it would be used. Would it become a tool for scientific exploration, allowing us to witness the birth of the universe and the farthest reaches of cosmic history? Or would it become a weapon, wielded by those seeking to manipulate history for their own gain? If nations or individuals could alter the past, would history become a battleground where different factions constantly rewrite events to suit their interests? This scenario could lead to a time war, an endless conflict fought not with weapons but with the fabric of reality itself. If opposing groups had access to time travel, they might continuously alter events to gain an advantage, undoing each other's actions in a never-ending cycle. This would create an unstable universe, where history is in constant flux and reality itself becomes unpredictable. But perhaps time travel is something even stranger than we imagine. Maybe it is not a physical journey but a mental one. Some theories suggest that consciousness, rather than the body, is what moves through time. If time travel exists at a quantum level, then it may not involve stepping into a machine but shifting awareness to a different point in the timeline. This could mean that dreams, déjà vu, and certain altered states of consciousness are glimpses into alternate versions of history, moments where our minds momentarily synchronize with other timelines. If true, this would imply that time travel is not just a scientific pursuit but a deeply personal and existential phenomenon. Perhaps time travelers do not walk among us as physical beings but exist as echoes, memories, or entities that observe without being seen. If time itself is an illusion, an artificial construct of human perception, then what we call past and future may simply be different layers of a larger, timeless reality. As we continue to explore the mysteries of time and the universe, we may one day unlock the secrets of time travel. Whether through physics, consciousness, or an understanding that transcends our current knowledge, the truth about time travel may already exist, hidden within the very fabric of reality, waiting for us to uncover it. And when we do, we may realize that we were never truly bound by time at all. If time travel is possible, then the fundamental nature of our universe must be reconsidered. Are we living in a deterministic reality, where every event follows a strict cause and effect relationship? Or is our universe a vast network of branching possibilities, where the past, present, and future are fluid rather than fixed? The answer to this question could determine whether time travel is merely a theoretical curiosity, or a tangible reality waiting to be harnessed. One of the greatest barriers to time travel is the nature of entropy. In physics, entropy is a measure of disorder in a system, and according to the second law of thermodynamics, entropy always increases over time. This creates a time arrow that distinguishes the past from the future. But if time travel is possible, does that mean entropy can be reversed? If someone travels to the past, would the entire universe around them rewind like a film in reverse? Or would they merely exist in an earlier point, while everything else remains unchanged? The role of entropy in time travel is a major challenge. If reversing entropy were possible, it would mean not only altering the sequence of events but also undoing all changes at a fundamental level. Every molecule, every quantum fluctuation, would have to return to its prior state, making true backward time travel almost inconceivable under current physical laws. However, if time is more flexible than we think, if it is a dimension that can be traversed rather than an irreversible flow, then perhaps entropy does not prevent time travel but instead operates in a way we have yet to understand. There are other potential roadblocks to time travel, such as the problem of causality. If a traveler changes the past, does that affect the future in a single, linear way, or does it create an entirely separate timeline? If timelines branch off, does that mean that history itself is composed of infinite variations, with every decision splitting reality into countless versions? This is the core idea behind the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. In this model, every time a decision is made, the universe splits into multiple versions, each representing a different possible outcome. This could mean that time travelers do not alter their own past but instead shift into a new reality, where events unfold differently. If true, then paradoxes might not be a problem because the original timeline remains unaffected. Any changes simply create a new branch rather than altering the original course of history. This idea aligns with the concept of quantum superposition. In quantum mechanics, particles can exist in multiple states simultaneously until observed, at which point they collapse into a definite state. Some physicists speculate that time itself might function in a similar way, with all possible timelines coexisting until one is selected by conscious observation or interaction. If so, time travel might involve navigating these superpositions, moving between different realities rather than simply moving forward or backward along a single timeline. But even if the many worlds interpretation is correct, it raises profound ethical and philosophical questions. If every possible outcome exists somewhere in the multiverse, then does free will truly exist? If time travelers create new timelines rather than altering existing ones, do they have any moral responsibility for the realities they leave behind? Would there be versions of history where catastrophic events occurred simply because a traveler made a seemingly minor change? Another intriguing possibility is that time travel does not require physical movement at all but instead involves consciousness itself. Some researchers suggest that under certain conditions, the human mind might be capable of perceiving, or even moving through time. This idea is sometimes linked to phenomena like déjà vu, precognition, and out-of-body experiences, which some believe could be glimpses of alternate timelines or future events. If consciousness is not bound by time, then it might be possible to experience past or future events without physically traveling. This idea connects to the concept of retrocausality, the notion that future events can influence the past. In quantum physics, there have been experiments suggesting that actions taken in the present can determine the state of particles in the past. While this remains a controversial and poorly understood concept, it hints at the possibility that time is not as linear as we assume. If retrocausality is real, then it might be possible to send information backward through time, even if physical travel remains impossible. This could have profound implications, from predicting natural disasters before they occur to sending warnings about critical events. But if time travelers from the future have the ability to send messages to the past, why have we not yet received any? Some theorists suggest that if future civilizations discover time travel, they might deliberately avoid communicating with the past to prevent disruptions. Others argue that any attempts to send messages to the past would create a separate timeline, meaning that in our particular reality, no such messages were received. Still, others propose that messages from the future might be encoded in ways we do not yet understand, waiting to be deciphered when we reach the appropriate level of technological development. If time travel is possible, then the universe must contain mechanisms that either permit or restrict it. Some of these mechanisms may be built into the fundamental fabric of space-time itself, acting as natural barriers to prevent paradoxes. Others may be technological, or even artificial, put in place by advanced civilizations to ensure that history remains stable. One final possibility is that time travel is real, but its effects are hidden. Some theorists propose that if time travelers operate in our reality, they may be indistinguishable from us. If they come from a sufficiently advanced future, they might have technology that allows them to blend seamlessly into any historical period. If they have a way to observe and interact without detection, they could be influencing history in ways we cannot perceive. Alternatively, time travelers might exist outside of our perception entirely. If they operate on a higher dimensional level, they might see all of history at once, choosing when and where to intervene, or whether to intervene at all. From our perspective, they would be invisible, but from their vantage point, all of time might be accessible in a single moment. The nature of time remains one of the greatest mysteries in physics and philosophy. Whether time travel is possible depends on the answers to some of the deepest questions about reality itself. Is time a fixed, unchangeable sequence, or is it a dynamic, flexible dimension? Can the past be altered, or does it always remain the same? Are we prisoners of time, or do we have the potential to move beyond it? As our understanding of physics continues to evolve, we may one day unlock the secrets of time travel. Whether through breakthroughs in quantum mechanics, the discovery of wormholes, or an entirely new understanding of space-time, the possibility remains open. If and when that day comes, it may not just change our future, it may redefine our entire understanding of existence. If time travel is indeed possible, then its implications stretch far beyond just physics and engineering. It would force us to completely rethink our understanding of reality, causality, and even the meaning of existence itself. The philosophical and ethical dilemmas that arise from time travel are just as mind-boggling as the scientific challenges. Would a time traveler be morally responsible for the changes they make? Could altering a single event ripple through history in unexpected and catastrophic ways? Or would the universe somehow correct itself, ensuring that history remains unchanged no matter what actions a time traveler takes? One of the most perplexing ideas associated with time travel is the concept of a self-healing timeline. Some physicists speculate that even if time travel were possible, paradoxes would be prevented by a kind of built-in stability mechanism. This idea is sometimes referred to as the Novikov self-consistency principle, which suggests that any actions taken by a time traveler would be constrained by the very fact that history has already unfolded in a certain way. In other words, if a time traveler were to attempt to change the past, something would always prevent them from succeeding. Imagine a scenario where a traveler goes back in time to prevent a historical disaster. Under the self-consistency principle, something would always interfere. Perhaps the traveler gets delayed, their attempts fail for unforeseen reasons, or their intervention actually causes the very event they were trying to prevent. This theory implies that time travelers are not free to do whatever they please. Rather, they are part of history itself, and their actions are already accounted for in the grand scheme of time. But if history is already written and cannot be changed, then what is the point of time travel? Some theorists argue that time travel may not necessarily be about changing the past, but rather about understanding it. If we could observe historical events firsthand, we might gain insights into ancient civilizations, lost knowledge, and even the origins of the universe itself. If a future civilization has the technology to visit different points in time, they might use it not to alter history, but to study and document it, like cosmic archaeologists exploring the past without leaving a trace. Of course, not all theories of time travel suggest a self-healing timeline. Some interpretations, particularly those based on quantum mechanics, allow for branching realities, where every change creates a new parallel universe. This idea is sometimes referred to as the many worlds interpretation of time travel. In this model, a traveler who goes back and alters an event does not rewrite their own timeline but instead spawns an entirely new one. This means that any paradoxes are avoided because the original timeline remains unchanged while a new reality diverges from it. If this theory is correct, then every choice we make may already be splitting reality into multiple versions. There could be an infinite number of alternate universes, each representing different outcomes of events both great and small. In one reality, a time traveler successfully prevents a war. In another, they fail. In yet another, they never existed in the first place. If every possibility exists somewhere in the multiverse, then time travel might not be about changing history but rather about navigating between different versions of it. This idea has profound implications for free will and destiny. If infinite versions of ourselves exist in different timelines, then does it really matter what choices we make? Are we truly in control of our fate, or are we simply following the path of one possible version of reality while countless others unfold elsewhere? If a time traveler jumps between timelines, do they retain their identity, Or do they become a different version of themselves in each new reality? Some theorists go even further and suggest that time itself may be an illusion. According to certain interpretations of quantum mechanics and relativity, all moments in time may exist simultaneously. This idea, sometimes called the block universe theory, proposes that the past, present, and future are all equally real and that our perception of time flowing in one direction is merely an artifact of human consciousness. If true, then time travel may not require machines or wormholes at all. It may simply be a matter of shifting one's perspective or consciousness to a different point in the already existing timeline. This leads to some of the more speculative ideas about time travel, such as the possibility that certain mental states, dreams, or altered states of consciousness could provide glimpses of the past or future. Some researchers have explored whether the human brain might function as a kind of time receiver, capable of accessing information from different points in time under the right conditions. While this remains purely theoretical, it raises interesting questions about the nature of memory, déjà vu, and even precognition. Could time travel be something that happens within the mind rather than through physical movement? If so, then it is possible that time travelers are not people who build machines to move through time, but rather individuals who have unlocked the ability to perceive or interact with time in a fundamentally different way. But what if time travel is not only possible but has already been discovered? If a civilization in the distant future, or an advanced extraterrestrial species, had mastered time travel, how would we ever know? One possibility is that they are already here, carefully observing history while ensuring that their presence remains undetected. If time travelers exist, they may have strict rules preventing them from interfering with past events or revealing their existence to us. This idea is sometimes called the time traveler's paradox, which asks, if time travel will one day be invented, why haven't we seen any evidence of time travelers? Some possible explanations include the idea that time travel is incredibly difficult and only available to a select few, that travelers disguise themselves so well that they go unnoticed, or that time travel is restricted to certain points in history to prevent paradoxes. Another possibility is that time travel only allows movement between points where time travel technology already exists, meaning that we may not encounter travelers from the future until we ourselves develop the capability. Some have even suggested that anomalies in history, unexplained knowledge, mysterious artifacts, or strange accounts of people who seemed out of place could be subtle hints that time travelers have already visited different points in time. Of course, without concrete evidence, these ideas remain in the realm of speculation, but they add another layer of intrigue to the question of whether time travel is real. Ultimately, the mystery of time travel remains one of the greatest questions in science, philosophy, and human imagination. Whether through wormholes, quantum mechanics, or consciousness itself, the possibility that we could move beyond the constraints of linear time is both thrilling and terrifying. If time travel is ever achieved, it may unlock unimaginable new possibilities for exploration, knowledge, and even the nature of existence itself. And if it is not possible, if we are forever bound by the one-way flow of time, then we must continue to search for answers within the confines of our present moment. Perhaps, in the end, the greatest mystery is not whether time travel is possible, but what time itself truly is. If time itself is a mystery, then our very perception of it might be misleading. What if time is not a separate entity moving forward but a fundamental aspect of space itself? In Einstein's theory of relativity, space and time are woven together into what we call space-time, and our movement through this fabric dictates how we experience time. This means that time is not a universal constant. It stretches and contracts depending on gravity and velocity. If we move fast enough or exist near an immense gravitational force, our experience of time changes. This brings us back to a crucial question. Is our perception of time's forward flow merely an illusion? Some physicists argue that all moments in time exist simultaneously, like frames in a film reel. In our everyday experience, we perceive time as moving forward, but in reality, the entire reel might already be laid out, with the past, present, and future coexisting in a vast, unchanging structure. This idea, known as the block universe theory, suggests that time does not flow, Rather, we move through it in a way that makes it seem sequential. If true, then time travel might not require physical movement at all. Instead, it could be about shifting one's awareness or perspective to a different point on the timeline. However, even if the past, present, and future all exist simultaneously, does that mean we can access them? This is where theories of quantum mechanics and consciousness come into play. Some scientists speculate that our minds interact with time in ways that we do not yet fully understand. Could memory, intuition, or even dreams be linked to glimpses of other points in time? Some researchers have explored whether déjà vu is evidence of the brain briefly tapping into parallel timelines or past events. Others have questioned whether certain states of altered consciousness might allow individuals to perceive time differently, potentially offering a mental form of time travel. This leads to another possibility, that time travel, if it exists, may not involve physical displacement at all. Instead, it might be a shift in perception or a connection between different points in time through non-physical means. This could align with ideas from philosophies and certain interpretations of quantum mechanics, where reality is shaped by observation and consciousness plays a fundamental role in the structure of the universe. If time is a construct of our minds as much as it is a physical dimension, then mastering time travel could require a deeper understanding of consciousness itself. Some theorists even suggest that what we think of as time travel could be happening all the time at the quantum level. In the strange world of quantum mechanics, particles can exist in multiple states at once, seem to communicate instantaneously across vast distances, and even appear to choose outcomes retroactively. Experiments such as the delayed choice quantum eraser suggest that decisions made in the present can affect events that have already happened, challenging our entire notion of causality. If quantum systems can behave in ways that defy classical logic, could similar principles apply to time itself? This possibility raises another fascinating question. If time travel is possible at the quantum level, could it be scaled up to the macroscopic world? Some researchers have proposed that under extreme conditions, such as in the presence of strong gravitational fields, black holes, or exotic forms of matter, quantum effects might enable forms of time travel that we do not yet understand. If the universe allows for information to be transmitted backward in time, then what prevents entire objects, or even consciousness, from doing the same? One of the most mind-bending ideas related to time travel is the concept of closed time-like curves, CTCs. These are hypothetical paths in spacetime that loop back on themselves, allowing an object or person to travel into their own past. CTCs appear in some solutions to Einstein's equations, suggesting that under the right conditions, time loops could theoretically exist. However, they also raise profound paradoxes. If someone can go back in time and interact with their past self, does that create an infinite loop of events? Some physicists argue that these loops are self-consistent, meaning that any actions taken within them must align with history as we know it. This ties into the Novikov self-consistency principle, which suggests that time travel would be constrained by logical consistency. Any action taken in the past must be compatible with the future that led to it. If this is the case, then time travelers could visit the past, but they would be unable to change anything in a way that contradicts history. On the other hand, the many worlds interpretation offers a different solution. If every possible outcome of an event creates a new parallel universe, then time travel might not change the original timeline but rather create a new one. In this view, traveling to the past does not alter the present, it simply spawns a new reality where different events unfold. This would mean that paradoxes are avoided because each timeline is independent. But it also raises a strange question. If every action spawns a new universe, then is time travel really about moving through time, or is it about jumping between realities? This idea has led some to speculate that if time travel ever becomes possible, it might be indistinguishable from interdimensional travel. If infinite timelines exist, each with its own version of history, then time travelers may not be visiting their own past, but rather an alternate version of it. In that case, preventing a historical disaster in one timeline would not change anything in the original timeline. It would simply create a new branch where events unfold differently. This raises yet another mind-bending possibility. If time travelers from the future exist, they may already be visiting alternate versions of history without us ever knowing. If the many worlds interpretation is correct, then a time traveler could alter the past in a parallel reality while leaving our own history unchanged. This could explain why we do not see evidence of time travelers. Perhaps they are not in our timeline at all. But if time travel, or interdimensional travel, is happening, could we detect it? Some researchers have proposed looking for inconsistencies in historical records, unexplained technological advancements, or anomalies in quantum experiments that might hint at the presence of time travelers. Others have suggested that if advanced civilizations have mastered time travel, they may have left behind subtle clues for us to discover, hidden within the fabric of the universe itself. Ultimately, the question of time travel remains one of the greatest mysteries in science. Whether through wormholes, relativity, quantum mechanics, or consciousness itself, the possibility of moving beyond the constraints of linear time challenges everything we think we know about reality. If time travel is ever achieved, it could unlock unimaginable new frontiers, allowing us to explore the distant past, witness the birth of the universe, or even communicate with future generations in ways we cannot yet comprehend. And if time travel is impossible, if we are forever bound by the forward motion of time, then our search for understanding must continue within the present moment. Perhaps, in the end, the greatest discovery is not how to move through time, but how to truly understand it. If time travel is ever proven to be possible, it would not just be a scientific breakthrough, it would fundamentally alter how we understand existence itself. The implications would extend beyond physics into philosophy, ethics, and even human identity. If the past, present, and future are all accessible, does that mean free will is an illusion? If we could travel to the past and witness history firsthand, would it still be meaningful to study and interpret events, or would they become fixed, immutable facts? These questions push us to reconsider the very nature of time, destiny, and our place in the universe. One of the biggest concerns with time travel is its potential to disrupt causality. The famous grandfather paradox is an example of this issue. If someone were to travel back in time and prevent their own ancestor from having children, how could they exist in the first place to make that change? This paradox suggests a logical contradiction, leading many physicists to doubt the feasibility of backward time travel. However, solutions have been proposed. The Novikov self-consistency principle argues that time travel is possible, but actions taken in the past must be self-consistent. This means that any event that would create a paradox simply cannot happen. If you travel back in time, whatever you do must already be a part of history. You might try to change the past, but something would always prevent you from doing so, either through coincidences, physical laws, or even your own actions leading to an outcome that maintains consistency. Another possible solution is the existence of parallel timelines. According to the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, each decision creates a new branch of reality. In this view, going back in time does not alter the past of your original timeline. Instead, it creates a new timeline where events unfold differently. This avoids paradoxes because each timeline remains independent. If true, it would mean that every choice, every action, and every moment of time travel simply leads to another reality rather than affecting the original one. If time travel works this way, then every time traveler would be a dimension traveler, moving between different versions of history rather than altering a singular, fixed past. This leads to a strange but fascinating question. If time travel exists in this form, could we be living in a timeline that was created by a time traveler from another reality? Could our history already have been altered by unseen hands, with us none the wiser? The possibility of hidden time travelers has intrigued researchers and science fiction writers alike. Some have speculated that if time travel is discovered in the far future, we might already be interacting with visitors from different points in time without realizing it. If a future civilization has developed the technology to move through time, they could be observing us from the shadows, influencing events in subtle ways, or even embedding clues in history for us to uncover. Some researchers have proposed scientific experiments to look for time travelers. These include searching for inconsistencies in historical records, monitoring for unexplained technological advancements, or even conducting tests where messages are sent to the future with instructions for them to be sent back. So far, these experiments have yielded no definitive proof, but the search continues. Another perspective suggests that time travel may already be happening, but not in the way we expect. Some physicists believe that time loops could exist on microscopic scales, with quantum particles briefly interacting with their past selves. If quantum mechanics allows for tiny fluctuations in time, could a more advanced understanding of physics one day allow us to amplify these effects on a human scale? This idea ties into the concept of quantum superposition, where particles exist in multiple states at once until they are observed. If reality itself behaves this way, then time may be just another layer of probability, one that could be manipulated with the right technology. Some have speculated that if a civilization were advanced enough to control quantum states on a macroscopic level, they might be able to construct time-traveling devices that operate by shifting probabilities rather than physically transporting matter. Another possibility is that time travel does not require machines at all. Some theories suggest that consciousness itself may be capable of moving through time in ways we do not yet understand. Phenomena such as precognition, déjà vu, and altered states of awareness have led some to speculate that the human mind might be capable of perceiving or even influencing different points in time. If consciousness is somehow linked to the fabric of reality, could training the mind allow for a kind of mental time travel? Regardless of which path leads to time travel, whether through physics, quantum mechanics, or the power of the mind, the implications would be profound. If we could interact with different points in time, would we use this ability responsibly? Would we attempt to correct historical injustices, prevent disasters, or communicate with future generations? Or would time travel be too dangerous, leading to unintended consequences that spiral out of control? These questions bring us to an unsettling thought. What if time travel is possible but deliberately hidden? Some theories suggest that if time travel were discovered, it might be tightly controlled, or even suppressed to prevent paradoxes and catastrophes. If this is true, then the reason we have not encountered time travelers might not be because time travel is impossible, but because those who use it ensure that their existence remains secret. Alternatively, time travel may be achievable, but only under specific conditions, such as extreme gravitational forces, exotic matter, or unknown forms of energy. If these requirements are beyond our current technological capabilities, then time travel may exist in theory but remain out of reach in practice. Future civilizations, with access to greater knowledge and resources, might one day unlock the secrets of time and use them in ways we can barely imagine. Time travel remains one of the greatest mysteries of science. Whether it is a fundamental aspect of reality waiting to be discovered or an impossible dream limited by the laws of physics, our fascination with it continues. If time travel is possible, then our understanding of the universe, and our place within it, will never be the same. But if time travel is impossible, then our only path is forward, embracing the present moment, while continuing our relentless search for knowledge. Perhaps the ultimate answer to time travel lies not in whether it can be achieved, but in what it teaches us about the nature of existence itself. If time travel is indeed possible, then the universe itself must be far more flexible than we currently understand. The very laws of physics that govern reality would have to accommodate the possibility of causal loops, paradoxes, and alternative timelines. But if time travel is impossible, then we are left with an even deeper mystery. Why does the universe seem so resistant to the idea? What fundamental rule of nature prevents us from moving freely through time the way we do through space? One of the biggest challenges to time travel is the second law of thermodynamics, which states that entropy, or disorder, always increases over time. This is one of the reasons why time appears to flow in only one direction. If time travel to the past were possible, it would mean reversing entropy, something that, according to current physics, seems impossible. However, some researchers argue that under specific conditions, entropy could be locally reversed, allowing for brief moments of backward time travel on a microscopic scale. If this is the case, then perhaps time travel is not strictly forbidden, but simply extremely difficult to achieve. Another fundamental principle that complicates time travel is quantum mechanics. At the smallest scales of reality, particles do not behave in a deterministic way but instead exist in a state of probability. The famous Schrödinger's cat thought experiment demonstrates this uncertainty. Until something is observed, it exists in multiple states at once. This suggests that time itself may not be as fixed as we perceive it. Some interpretations of quantum mechanics even propose that each possible event creates a new branch of reality, meaning that if time travel is possible, it may simply move us to an alternate timeline rather than allowing changes to the past of our own universe. If parallel timelines exist, then the nature of time travel changes significantly. Instead of a single fixed history, there would be an infinite number of possible histories. A time traveler who attempts to change the past might simply create a new branch of reality rather than altering their original timeline. This would resolve many paradoxes, but it also raises new questions. If infinite timelines exist, does that mean every possible version of history is real? Is there a version of reality where time travel has already been discovered, but we are simply unaware of it? Some physicists suggest that the multiverse might provide a natural way to prevent paradoxes. If each timeline is separate, then traveling to the past would not affect the traveler's own history but instead create a divergent path. This could mean that even if time travel is possible, it may not function in the way we traditionally imagine. Instead of fixing past mistakes, a traveler might only be creating a new version of reality where events unfold differently. The idea of multiple timelines also raises the question of whether we are already living in a timeline that has been altered by time travelers. Could unexplained historical events or anomalies be the result of interference from the future? Some have speculated that moments in history that seem unusually improbable or coincidental could be evidence of unseen interventions. However, without concrete proof, these ideas remain in the realm of speculation. Another potential mechanism for time travel is the concept of closed time-like curves, CTCs, which are theoretical paths through spacetime that loop back on themselves. If CTCs exist, then they could allow for travel to the past without violating causality. Some solutions to Einstein's field equations and general relativity suggest that under certain conditions, spacetime can twist and bend in such a way that time travel is possible. However, these conditions often require exotic matter with negative energy, a type of matter that has never been observed in nature. If exotic matter does exist, it could open the door to a variety of time travel possibilities. One proposal involves the use of cosmic strings, hypothetical defects in spacetime that could act as conduits for time travel if they were arranged in the right configuration. Another idea is that of a traversable wormhole, which could connect 2 points in time and space instantaneously. While these concepts are theoretically possible, they remain beyond our current technological capabilities. One of the most intriguing questions in time travel research is whether the universe itself naturally prevents time paradoxes. Some theories suggest that any attempt to alter the past would be counteracted by the universe in ways we cannot predict. This could take the form of subtle course corrections, where events unfold in such a way that changes to the past ultimately cancel themselves out. For example, a time traveler attempting to prevent a historical disaster might find that their actions inadvertently caused the very event they were trying to stop. This kind of self-correcting timeline would mean that while time travel might be possible, it would be futile in terms of making meaningful changes to history. There is also the possibility that time travel is governed by principles we do not yet understand. Just as relativity revolutionized our understanding of space and time, future discoveries could reveal new aspects of reality that make time travel either possible or fundamentally impossible. If time travel is ever achieved, it will likely require a deep understanding of physics that goes beyond our current knowledge. One of the most compelling arguments against time travel is the absence of time travelers. If time travel is possible in the future, then where are the travelers from distant civilizations? This is sometimes referred to as the time travel paradox. If time travel exists, why haven't we seen evidence of it? Some possible explanations include the idea that time travelers are bound by strict rules to avoid detection, that time travel is limited to specific points in time, or that our timeline simply isn't one that has been visited. Alternatively, it is possible that time travel requires energy or resources far beyond anything a civilization could practically achieve. If the energy required to manipulate time is greater than the energy output of an entire star, then time travel might be theoretically possible but functionally impossible. Another explanation could be that time travel is only possible within certain constraints. Some theories suggest that if time travel is ever invented, it will only allow travel to the point in time when the machine was first activated. This would mean that we do not see time travelers from the future because the technology has not yet been created in our timeline. Regardless of whether time travel is possible, the search for answers continues. The study of time itself remains one of the most profound mysteries in physics. Is time a fundamental aspect of the universe, or is it simply an emergent property of the way we perceive reality? Could time be an illusion, with past, present, and future all existing simultaneously? As our understanding of the universe deepens, we may one day discover the true nature of time and whether it can be manipulated. Whether that knowledge leads us to time travel or simply to a deeper appreciation of the present moment, the journey of discovery is just as important as the destination. If time travel ever becomes a reality, it will change everything we know about existence. But if it remains an impossibility, then we must accept that our only true path through time is forward, one moment at a time. This video is for educational or entertainment purposes only, and information provided in the video may be incorrect. Like the video and subscribe to the channel for more such amazing videos.